T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey. This is going to be a fun one because I just spent 6 hours at the theater experiencing the internet phenomenon known as Barbenheimer, and I'm here to talk spoilers and bounce those spoilers off of the rookie critic's brain.
And I did not spend all day doing that. So.
Well, to not sound like a loser, I will preface that, I went to work for a half day before this, rushed home, showered, went to the post office, and then spent 6 hours at the theater. And it, honestly, going to Barbie, I'm like, well, initially I heard about this and then learned about Barbenheimer. It's like, oh, cool. I love Chris Nolan, so definitely seen that. But then it's like Margot Robbie being hot all day for 2 hours, like, and Ryan Gosling being Ken. It's like, I don't know what to expect, but I'm down. And then I start hearing this feminist crap regarding this movie. and I see idiots like Shadiversity crying about it, and so then I'm like, oh, ticket please, because regardless of the value of certain critics in what was known as the Phantom Menace, what it is the Phantom Menace still, whether they want to call it that or not, they've Pavlov's dogged themselves. They've gotten rewarded handedly by subscribers and whatnot for woke. Woke, and so they crap on whatever. They did this to Avatar too, and then they're like, wow, this is pretty based. It's a family movie, and so they spent months trying to crap on Avatar. And that's why I hate that shit. Instead of just like being honest reviewers that you can trust, they definitely show their hand that like they pander to what gives them money. And I can't do that. Gotta be honest, and we can disagree. I think it's fine to disagree, to see shades of things, to think, oh, well, it does this, so it's woke.
Sometimes I think that the woke goggles are on a lot of people's eyes often, like scanning for things that could be interpreted as woke.
Yeah, my wake-up call was the movie Crawl. I explained in depth the plot of this alligator movie, and I'm like, does this sound like feminist propaganda, Rookie? Like, I feel like I'm jumping to conclusions. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, but then there's this nagging thing of like, is it woke? Was in my back of my head.
Yeah, I was like, from whatever you described, I was like, no, it seemed fine. Didn't seem.
That was my wake-up call. Was the movie Crawl, ironically about alligators. And and that's why I'm just very hesitant about our peers, from the same cloth, Phantom Menace, Star Wars, Last Jedi talk. I see through this stuff, or even if it is like infringements on your sensibilities, you think, oh, this is propaganda to some extent. It's like there's no gradient with these people. One infraction or level 2 out of 10 infraction, it gets the same response as level 10. And so they trivialize real conversations about the damage you can do to culture via film. And that's my problem. So yeah, this film is a feminist film, and I think it is a feminist self-own, not in the sense of, they got stats wrong or something, it's very easy to point out with a certain infection from an Asiatic area. There was spins about it affects women more, even though their own stats was like, 1 in 4 people hurt are women. It's like, oh, so 75% are men that are screwed by the infection of Asiatic origin. It's not that simple. It's like, it definitely has a bent politically, but it's not necessarily Democrat or pure leftist. It's kind of self-indicting of feminism on accident, I think. And it very much, as I told Rookie, it very much warrants a Ken movie, because it on accident, I think, shows the plight. Feminists love to say, well, patriarchy hurts men too, as an appeal to men to join feminism, to embrace being a beta simp for yes queen. And this movie tries to do that through the Ken narrative subplot, but it actually just shows the fucking plight of men. Like they have so this movie is kind of a Toy Story movie. Barbie becomes sort of self-aware.
None of the other Barbies. It's not animated at all. It's all
no. There's a couple animated little poofs of clouds when the car crashes because it's a toy, so it doesn't actually fuck anything up. But it is that's about it.
Yeah, they haven't used Chevron cars in anything, which disappoints me. They need to bring those back one day. Oh, you are Knuff, Angus. You are Knuff. I want that hoodie. Ken has, at the end of it, he has a hoodie that says, you are Knuff. Because the whole message is like, accept yourself. I think they kind of fell at delivering that message adequately. But yeah, what is up, I'll tell. I went to the movies with this guy to see Barbie. And we had a good time. We had some fun conversation.
like I'm giving to you. But yeah,
It's
essentially,
it's funny. Before you go on, it is funny though how it's like it's a like that movie is like a movie that general audiences are gonna see and movie people are gonna see. That's like I feel like there's some movies that like some people just won't see. And maybe 10 years ago I would have put that in the well, of course most movie reviewers aren't going to go see that. Some will, sure, but or they will for the lulz or something. But this is like no, this is as legitimate as Oppenheimer in terms of like watching a movie to review or
both
something.
of these films are helping each other.
So it's funny. I like that kind of observation because like yeah, it'd be weird. Oh, there's a dude. You're a dude. You're gonna go see the girl movie, and it's like, well, I mean, it's got Margot Robbie in it for one.
Right,
it's
cool. Margot Robbie being hot.
Ryan Gosling's a cool actor and a lot of cool stuff. So it's like, why not see what it is? See what it is.
Yeah, and I honestly had a fun time. There was some humor, whether it was on purpose or accident, was just brilliant. Sorry, I'm trying to update my tags too because I just threw this together impromptu because I knew I'd be running tight.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I'm glad that Melissa McCarthy wasn't in it, even though I know you said that with the right direction, maybe she'd be fine. But
an Oppenheimer or a Nolan film or Tarantino, yeah, those guys could direct anybody.
Yeah,
Oppenheimer, oh my god, that whole last hour was intense as fuck. Oppenheimer, I'll say this about Oppenheimer before I dig into Barbie. Oppenheimer, just a quick cliff note for y'all before we get into that discussion because it's its own fucking thing. Oppenheimer is Chris Nolan using historical a figure in history to discuss cancel culture. It's not so I think anyone that pays attention politically and cancel culture talking all this can start adding it up, seeing the like pertinence of this film being made now. Chris Nolan, go watch The Dark Knight Rises. I know people cry about Bane. They don't like his version, whatever. It's so prophetic. That movie was a response to Occupy Wall Street. Chris Nolan, I don't know if he's a Republican. I don't know if he even votes in America, if he lives in England still, but he's very much center-right, if not conservative. Watch that movie. It happened in Seattle. The place, Chaz, that is exactly a microcosm of The Dark Knight Rises.
It's across the street from me, practically.
And I think he made this movie for a reason with cancel culture going around through a historic account of a great man that after World War II was consistently villainized up to the highest echelons of offices in America, including like there's a scene with Truman where I'm assuming this is just the recount of Oppenheimer somewhere in history, but he meets Truman and he's trying to warn him like, hey, the Russians are like the next problem. We've made the A-bomb. They're going to do it. And their intel is like, oh, the commies, they don't have uranium. They can't make it. It's like, they're going to do it. And so when we make the bigger bomb, like I'm a fucking expert. I've brought the science to America.
Yeah. Don't listen to the guy that just helped, end the war in Japan with a bomb.
So when he leaves, you hear Truman in the background saying like, don't let that crybaby back in here. Because he's trying to say like, I have blood on my hands with this bomb. So it's not, so Oppenheimer, the real takeaway is not that he necessarily regrets making the bomb because he's a Jew, and so he was very much utilizing the sentiment.
It wasn't even used on the Nazis,
right? That was his whole point, was to beat the Germans to making the bomb and dropping it on them. But Hitler killed himself, and the Nazis lost, and so but we still had Japan, and so it was kind of a misdirected effort on his part as far as like his personal resolve. All right, but then also, it was realizing not just that he's made the new super weapon, he's responsible for it, but also that it's not going to stop. They're going to keep escalating the super weapons. It's now an arms race, and he's responsible for lighting the fuse to kick this off. And that's his culpability that he's struggling with as soon as it's successful.
That's enough to make me want to see this, because like Have you seen any of the like actual footage of Oppenheimer talking, or like
No, I need
that,
to.
like
I'm so
like
interested.
I've only seen like a brief clip where he's just like he's doing a little speech. I forget what the beginning part is, and he's like, and I am become death. It's like he's like he regrets entirely kind of making this thing. He's like, I made this weapon of just like I made a destroyer of the world thing, kind of like domino effect here. Like you cannot just go backward from this. This is only going to go forward and technically be worse. So it's like
Daytona Falls. I don't know, man. I think everyone can watch this and find some fun. Even if you're like blatantly just feminist agenda, feminist ideology, bore, yawn, whatever. Like I think on accident, this film is brilliant for conservatives to. This is what I mean. It's a feminist cell phone, not like they did feminism outright, so they're going to lose money or something. That's not what I'm saying. I think this feminist master thesis they're going for, they fall on their face by showcasing what men say, because there's this whole subplot of Barbie's becoming aware because of her owner, and that creates this rift that she has to like bust through. And Ken tags along, Ryan Gosling Ken tags along, and he has his own self-realization seeing the world. He's like, oh wow, the world's so masculine, and so he gets like some bro energy from seeing the real world, and he brings it back to Barbie. So that's like the huge problem, aside from Barbie's self-realization and having to try to help her owner so she can get back to normal. That's her whole motivation. Ken undoes Barbie world by making it Ken world and Super Chad or whatever, these kind of memes of brodom, if you will, by women's view.
Well, when you said Barbie has an owner, I pictured her on a leash.
Oh, Margot Robbie on a leash, like Jenna the puppy girl on OnlyFans.
You said Barbie's walking around with her owner. I'm like, wait, I don't think you realized how that sounded to me. It's just like, the doll owner of the doll, but Margot Robbie. Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, no, I you know what? Like all women have these sentiments of the Barbie movie. I think women are going to love this movie.
So far, at least in our sphere, the girls hate it. In our sphere, anyway.
And that's the thing. Like, yeah, you'll see a woman crapped on it, but it's like, well, it's in our sphere. Also, they make money by saying this, so how much do you trust it? Just like I wouldn't trust the leftists like Grace Randolph promoting it. I'll watch her review, but she's definitely gonna have her angles about, it's so great, it does this and that, and
she says it's a positive feminist film or something. It's like what she says, I think.
Yeah, like it's
hearing Shad's take and then hearing your take, it does make me kind of think that yours might be more right, because I feel like his complaints are valid in seeing it in that kind of way, but
the way that you're
saying it is more like it's not a success in their attempt to try to do feminism. It's
their angle, is not really
funny.
Successful.
It's funny how they try to do that. That like I can see that being kind of funny, but yeah, we have the goggles on though, so we're not. It's a narrowed vision, maybe. I did not see the
what's
film.
Up, Horny Alf?
Horny Alf.
Did you see Barbie or Oppenheimer? Let me know, because I'll send you a link.
Yeah,
you can join the conversation.
Alf.
But it's funny because this is the other thing about how it's a cell phone, because all right, so Ken. They showcase the Barbie world through Barbie, Margot Robbie specifically, and all the other Barbies, and they include like Midge or whatever, which was, I guess, a Barbie derivative that they made that was pregnant, and you could like take her belly off and have like a little baby. And so it's like, who the hell? Why would you make that? I mean, I guess it's cool because you can remove the pregnancy element.
I got my Barbie with a detachable stomach.
But it's like, it just. The narrator's Helen Mirren, which is funny, and she's like, that was just weird, and it's just like, I agree that's weird, because then you're like offering these questions like, well, where did the baby come from? Who's the dad? And it's like, but before they show the detachable part, I thought it was just, it's a pregnant Barbie. And then they also show like these failed Barbie attempts of like, here's a Barbie that had a camera in it with a little screen on the back, so you could like use Barbie as a camera
to make clips or something. And then there was one of like a Ken with an earring, I guess in the 80s. They showed like some weird, they kind of self-own with some of the missteps of Barbie history in their, ingenuity attempts. So like they're self-aware as a company making this in some ways. That's funny. And Will Ferrell is like CEO guy, and there's this whole kind of male capitalist corporate indictment in a funny way. Ultimately, like I don't know. But yeah, Ken. What was I going with Ken specifically? Yeah, so like they showcase Barbie's life, and then they show like the world is like it's all women, and women win awards, and the Supreme Court is all women, and everything's great, and we got a Barbie Constitution, and blah blah blah. And so so Ken comes back and upends everything, makes it Ken world, and all like even the president is just like a cheerleader giving beer brewskis to all the guys. John Cena makes a cameo because they show you on the beach mermaid Barbies behind like plastic waves, and then later on in Ken world, John Cena's a Barbie mermaid. And he's getting a beer brewski from a girl mermaid, and it's funny, like, little shit like that was like everyone's kind of laughing, everyone's having a good time in the theater I was in. It wasn't full because it was 3:50 in the afternoon on Thursday, but
that sounds more like more funny than how a lot of people are making it come off as. Like, they're like they're trying to make it seem like this is what men would do with the control of whatever, and just like I don't know. Yeah, so I like. I don't know, from the way you're leading me on with this is that it's like, well, this is kind of fun. It's like the way that everyone else does.
Papa God says, I've been trying to get Venus to watch Jew, quote unquote. That's a comedy special by a Jewish comedian. He just called it Jew.
Oh, okay.
I've seen Ari Shaffir on Rogan. He's fine as a whatever. But don't forget the secret Barbie espionage plot. Yeah. I was gonna get that. So yeah. Ken comes back and upends the world, and his quick takeaway of the world, the little bit he's in, is patriarchy and horses. And so he turns Barbie Mount Rushmore into horse Mount Rushmore, and it's Ken world. And they're going to have a vote to change the Constitution to make, I guess, the Kens in charge. And so Barbie's goes to Weird Barbie house, and the sentient Barbies all plan to sentient the Barbies to break them from their normal Barbiedom and make them aware, and thus upend the Ken world plan, because they're going to be the vote. And so they lie and manipulate the Kens to turn on each other, and they do this by they all go on like a beach date at night with a campfire. And so all the Barbies are all on Ken dates on the beach, and they're all playing Matchbox 20 for like 4 hours, staring at them creepily while they play. And then they trick them all to like go on this date, and then they start like playing on their phone or getting interested in other Kens. So they turn all the Kens on each other. So they make this essentially elaborate metaphor that women are the whole cause of war. And it's kind of, at the end of the day, it's kind of true. Like there is glory, there's vanity of men. There's all these different reasons men go to war. Some men just want to be the best, like Napoleon or Alexander, and like, I rule everything. It's all mine. I win. But ultimately, most guys join the military for monetary stability, and or chicks dig the suit. I want to get babes. I want to make a harem. Something in that realm. So they kind of, I think, unknowingly paint war in the simple view as like, yeah, actually women are the cause of war, because all the Kens are fighting because of women and their manipulations. And so it's like, that's why I say this whole movie is a big feminist self-own, is because in their attempts, there's an actual takeaway with the art they made that's bigger than what they intended. And that's why I love this movie. Because it wasn't even like eye rolling necessarily. It's just like, oh my God, you're like, because like when they're in the real world, Barbie starts feeling, she's trying to like state these emotions she's never felt, where it's like, I don't know, I'm feeling this weird, like just, and this one's like, oh, it's called anxiety. And Ken's like, this one's like, the time? And he's like, huh? And he's like, you respect me. And so the takeaway is like,
got
oh,
his
all men walk
got
around the
his-
world and just feel instant respect.
He got his respect. He got his respect.
Ken got more respect than Isom. And yeah, so he brings all these like quick meme takeaways of the real world back to Ken world, makes like super bro patriarchy. Jeremy Johns in his review I watched before I seen the movie, he's like, yeah, so the takeaway is that like, you know, Ken could just rule the world if he wasn't simping for a girl. And it's like, oh wait, that's not supposed to be the takeaway. Whoops. And it's like being aware of that takeaway, I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my god, that's spot on, you know. And that's another great thing to take away. It's like, essentially this is a big friend zone movie where Ken, he's beach Ken, so his job is beach. And so he goes to the real world and he's like, I'm a man. He's like, yeah, I want to be a doctor. And this woman doctor's like, you don't have a degree. You are not a doctor. He's like, come on, let me do one appendectomy. He's like, no. He's like, give me some coffee. She's like, no. He's like, I need a clicky pen. And he's like, oh, can I talk to a real doctor? And she's like, I am a doctor. And then he goes to a bank. He's like, yeah, I want a bank. He's like, well, you don't need an MBA. He's like, I'm a man. I can't just get hired. And he's like, we don't do that anymore. And he's like, well, I thought men were in charge. He's like, oh, we are. Just it's a lot more subtle. It's funny too, because like, you know, there's gonna be this takeaway that, oh, it's leftist propaganda or whatever, and you can think that, but there's this little montage when he's in like this gym. He sees like all these Rocky pictures and Stallone, and then he sees like this montage of like money, and all the money's got men's faces on it, and then he sees like two presidents. They show Reagan and they show Clinton. And so I think it's kind of, this is apolitical in a way. It is a political message, but it's not Republican Democrat. There's definitely a leaning you could take away where it's like, well, conservatives don't care about feminism, but all women are feminists at the end of the day. They're all communists. So it's kind of bigger than what we think of as like left or right.
So when Oppenheimer says that communism's next, then they were right because the Barbies.
Well, Oppenheimer was a communist sympathizer to some extent, but it seems that to get into the Manhattan Project, he didn't fully invest in those sentiments. And then he was in a government position until I guess like 60 or so. It's funny because they make an allusion to, you could say, a cinematic universe of historical biopics by Nolan, because essentially this whole film of backwards and forwards is intertwined with a Senate hearing for a cabinet appointee, this Louis Strauss. I don't know anything about him besides this movie so far, but he's, I guess, the guy that rigs this kangaroo court to knock Oppenheimer from having a security clearance. And so they're like having those questions for him while they're also showing the Oppenheimer kangaroo court beforehand. And so this is pretty much supposed to be in the bag for Strauss, and he's waiting on this like scientist.
Is it actually called kangaroo court?
The term, yeah.
That sounds just like a children's cartoon or something. Head down back to kangaroo court.
Interesting. So Daytona says, let the free market decide. I don't hate Barbie. I'd get her pregnant. But other than that, I'm pretty sure I don't give a fuck. And he's like, I guess talking about the detachable pregnancy. Now with detachable accountability. Lol.
Yes.
So many Barbies in landfills. Sure, I guess. I don't know. Like, Barbie's an icon. And it's funny because there's this scene where like she thinks it's the daughter that she has to help, but it's actually the mom that she got like these through the rift visions. And you think it's like this sad girl that's like turned away from Barbie, and somehow metaphysically she's projected this into Barbie, and so that's this whole existential crisis.
Wait, so hold on. When you say like they have an owner, like did they get played with like with Toy Story?
So they're being played with, but they're not aware of it. They're just in Barbie land, living Barbie. Like their, I guess, soul or whatever is in a different world. It's in Barbie land. So yeah, they're unaware of any real life happenings. But it seems maybe they know their toys and that they're like a good influence on people playing with them. So they're just completely oblivious of reality. It's not like Toy Story where it's like, all right, the people are away, let's be Barbie. It's like, no, they're in Barbie land, and then they have to go through some sort of rift to come to the real world. And you can go backwards and forwards. And yeah, so when she goes to like thinking she has to fix the girl's problem, she finds her at school, and after she's been arrested, her and Ken wearing these like crazy cowboy suits.
Is it like a Back to the Future reference? Like, oh, you got to fit in to wear this, and he's like, "Are you sure?" And like a weird.
Well, because they're always changing clothes, because Barbie has a huge wardrobe, so they're just like, "Oh, clothes, let's change." Because they're like, I think we should get out these rollerblade suits.
It's been 3 hours since we changed. Got to change again.
Yeah, I mean that's girls love clothes. They love having a wardrobe. You know, Barbie's because you think about like why boys play with like GI Joe versus why you see it in the monkeys. You put baby dolls in car trucks. They've never fucked with humans, and the girl monkeys almost 100% grab the babies and mother them in some way. And the boys play with trucks and stuff. The boy monkeys. They've never seen people do it. It's implicit in the ape genome. We have a male female divide about how we look at toys. You don't have to influence boys to play with guns and trucks and stuff. It's implicit because men are thing oriented, girls are empathetic, their emotion, you know. So when they play a doll, it's just like, oh, let's like have a tea party, and it's like, well, the boy's gonna have a fucking tea party, you know. It's like, no, the boy's gonna play, oh, it's tea party, meaning the American Revolution. Let's kill the fucking redbacks.
It's tea party, but the Terminator butts in and the tea party.
Whenever women are in charge, suffering follows. I'm just trying to catch up with the chat.
Tim's in the chat here. What's up?
Yeah,
Tim?
what's up, Tim? What is up with your Twitter? What's happened? How do I contact you? How do I send you links?
Message in a bottle, maybe.
You're right.
Yeah, the old-fashioned way. Catapult.
Yeah, like this movie's all over the place as far as it's funny because like they have the kin war, so all the kins turn on each other and are having a war on the beach, but they're fighting with just like Barbie toys. So they're shooting each other with like they're all riding like stick horses because horses have become so huge in the kin world. But they have they don't even have like plastic horses. They just have like the stick horses, and so they're all charging each other and shooting each other like toy like suction cup arrows and hitting each other.
They're probably having the most fun they've ever had before.
Yeah, and then it turns into a musical, and because him and Simu Liu, Shang-Chi are the two main kins that hate each other, and they both want Barbie's attention. And Simu Liu through the movies like always like kind of one-upping him, and but Gosling Ken takes the initiative to like follow her, even though she didn't ask for it. She's just gonna do it on her own. But he tags along because he's a simp. And then they end up, he makes Ken World upends, but it's all really just to try to impress Barbie, and they end up having this Ken fight. But then they have this kind of like Grease musical fight, and it kind of feels like the Beat It episode or music video of Michael Jackson of like a dance-off gang war,
and combing their hair but then punching each other or something.
Yeah, they're doing all these moves of like who's the hotter Ken. They do all those kind of moves, and they're like, while they're singing. And it's funny though because like all the Kens end up like helping each other and lifting each other up, and I'm like, oh my god, I want the Ken movie, because it's like even in this gay fucking female view of Ken dolls, you can't hide the masculine energy of like, yes, men come together, men build pyramids, men make armies to conquer the world. We do this through cooperation.
Yeah, that was actually a point that Shad kind of said, was that they kind of made it clear that women are like, they imply that women can't do anything with the world. Like they're like, oh, we'll wait until they get it done first or something. Or like they'll just like step aside, like they show that the guys can get things done like with this or something. And it's like, it sounds like that's about right. What you're describing.
Yeah. Ken, so this is part of like the meme where it's like Ken misappropriates the little tidbits he's learned in the real world. So he's like, he turns Barbie's house into the Ken Mojo Dojo Casa House, and it's a joke's like you don't have to say house and casa. That's like the same thing. Just dumb little thing like that where it's like it's fun, and then like with the whole manipulation when the Barbies are like helping each other to unspell themselves and get sentience to turn on the Kens to up. The whole thing of upending the Kens and manipulating them is because they're going to trick them to fight each other, and they'll forget about voting to change the constitution of Barbie world. So the Barbies will take back control by all the women, all the Barbies vote and set the world right is the angle. Even though in the Ken world, it's just masculine. It's not necessarily, it's masculine within the framework of Barbie toys, of Ken toys. But it's not that like, oh, they turned it into a ghetto or something. It's just they made it male. And in the real world, the CEO is aware, like, man, Ken World is selling all these fucking toys. We're selling out. We can't keep the shit on the shelf. So it's like, this is a huge win. Like, Barbie would be better if it was for boys. Like, and so it's like, I don't necessarily what they're going for with Mattel. This is like a product to sell Barbies. I don't get certain things. It's like, I don't get what you're doing if this is an extension of your enterprise.
That is actually kind of funny. Like I never saw the commercial of this as like, this is also them trying to sell more Barbies or something. It's like, no, it's just the movie.
It's like, just they become multimedia.
When,
I mean, they've already had Barbie, like
they've had
Toy Story
before.
animated movies, but
well, no, you're right. But like, they still, it's. I mean, would it not make sense though to like have ones released with this or something for people to have that be part of the marketing strategy? That's worked for years, you know, all the time. You wouldn't want a Margot Robbie statue?
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean? That's already one buyer right here. Right there.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, if the faces look a little better, like Sideshow does great stuff, but like the faces are like real people, like Margot Robbie for the statues. Like, yeah, it looks good, but it's just I don't know if I go with that pose or that cut or whatever. You know, it's just little details like that where I'm like, it's definitely not high on my list of like that's the statue I'd want to get. But no, it was interesting experience. Mostly girls, kids, whatever, in the theater of what was there, given it was early in the day of opening day. But it all felt pretty pleasant. When I was leaving Oppenheimer, I was seeing some Barbie attendees coming in. They were in like pink and some wore a tiara, various ages. Probably some dates, you know. There's just like naturally hot girls. There's girls, older women dolling up in kind of a Barbie way, self-aware, you know. And it's like, this is fun, you know. Like, there's good energy in the theater because everyone's either going to see Oppenheimer or Barbie, or maybe Mission Impossible, whatever number we're on.
Right.
Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn, Barbie. Oh my god.
Just getting all these ideas now.
You know, there's that thing of like anime weirdos buy like a small statue and put it in a jar and they keep coming on it. It's like, in that facet of a Margot Robbie, maybe.
Positively.
Do you have? Is there a spot in the Shad video that you would want to maybe have me view and comment on?
I don't have it all like memorized, but let me actually see that. I can still pull it up and see.
Yeah, Tim, if you saw my message, I keep refreshing my email so I can reply and send you a link if you want to join. Get your take, because I assume you saw Barbie. So you said you're seeing Oppenheimer tomorrow. But yeah, no, I was irritated because I wanted to plan to see Oppenheimer first. I just wanted to be more attentive mentally. I thought if I saw it the other way, where it's like, all right, Barbie will be like just like an unwind film. I don't have to think so hard. Versus Oppenheimer, it's, you know, Chris Nolan. He's a very heady director. But no, he had such a fucking energy in Oppenheimer. Like, I think I missed probably the first 5 minutes because I was a little late getting in. But you kind of seeing the start of film. and not being the best student and people doubting him and someone giving him direction like, yeah, go here, start doing this if you really want to take this serious. And he starts applying himself and going through the struggles, which is fine because Einstein was pretty bad at math from what I understand. Like, he's a brilliant scientist, but he failed at a lot of other stuff. Going through the hoops of becoming the guy he was. The Barbie movie sounds like it was written by a man. Haha. Yeah. So what's interesting is the Barbie director is directing a, I don't know if it's a movie or a series of movies or a series, but they're doing like multimedia for Netflix adapting Chronicles of Narnia, which I'm like, seeing this movie, if it's a window into what she'll do, it's like, oh man, I hope she feminizes the fuck out of Narnia, because it'll just be fun to talk about. But also, Narnia sucks, so have at it. Please make it better or something.
I think there's some elements in the Narnia story that's okay, but overall, I agree with you.
Narnia sucks. I saw
there's
the
maybe
first one,
5% of it that I think is fine.
The idea of Narnia.
Is dog.
Well, you know what? Yeah, please propagandize leftist whatever in Narnia, because Narnia, unlike, even though there's obvious like, I would say implicit insertion of ideas and rhetoric of Catholic Tolkien in his Lord of the Rings world.
Yeah.
In Middle Earth, like it's implicit because he was so devout, and so he wasn't trying to allegorize or propagandize Lord of the Rings to trick you to be Christian or something. But it's like it was so much who he was that it seeps through that you can find these associations religiously. That's not good or bad, but it feels like C.S. Lewis was purposely making propagandized fantasy for Christianity.
Well,
and so that's why I'm like, yeah, like when you're crying about, oh, they inserted an agenda in Narnia, they're going to feminist agenda Narnia or whatever. And it's like, but it's already an agenda piece. So it's okay when Christians do it. Is like that's my counter to like people that will cry about whatever happens with the Narnia Netflix stuff.
Well, I haven't heard about what they're doing with that stuff, but the things about it that I think are fine is mostly in Prince Caspian, I think, for the most part, where
hold on,
that's the second one. Yeah, hello, Karen.
Hold on, we got a Karen piece.
They gotta get their hands off my butt.
Shut up, silly woman.
I love it. But no, there's like a point. Peter Dinklage is like a dwarf warrior. This is like, they in the first one they were kids and they were in Narnia for like over 20 or 30 years or something, and then they go back to being kids in the real world, and then they go back like a year or two later to the place, and
wait, when they go back in Narnia, do they reset their age, or do they
they are children again?
No. Like, I get that they're children. They go into the closet and they come out and they're children still.
Yeah, like, no, and I'm saying when they go back into Narnia in the second film, they are still children. They don't like retake their older forms or whatever.
Okay. See, I hear that, and it's like kind of like the religious thing. I was talking with the Amarok creator, where it's like a problem of religion generally is that it floods the market of life, where it's like, well, when I die, I still get infinite life. So why really try? I can just accept my plight on Earth for like 80 years, and then I die and I get infinite life. That's happier. So I'm not going to fight the system. It makes people complacent with their plight. The history of peasants under tyranny in Europe, under the theocratic state. That's how you control people, through religion, or you can. And so that's like an indictment of religion. It's not necessarily good or bad, but it is a possibility that this happens, and we've seen it in history. And there's this one atheist that I used to watch where he's talking about, as a kid going to Christian school, he started learning about the simple concepts resonated. And so he had this plan going to Christian school. There was like, I guess, a botany class. And so it's like they're learning about poisonous plants. So he started trying to hoard
pieces of like a poisonous plant so he could kill himself and be with God. Like, this is the revelation that a child can undertake of like, why would I want to be on, like, the whole goal is Jesus and life with Jesus. So why would I want to live? Because life sucks on earth compared to the infinite happiness of heaven with Jesus. So why not kill yourself? You get death cults from religion because it's like, let's go to the happy land forever, you know? And so with Narnia, it's like, why the fuck, if time just stops and I can just keep re-going, I would like hop in and out.
No, you just went way on a thing that has nothing to do with anything that's in the movies at all. Like they have
I'm saying the template you've explained is like, why the fuck would I want to be in real life?
Anything. No, you didn't let me finish anything. You just continued. You just went.
I was going off what you told me,
and I was going to add to that. You just stopped me.
Add away.
Because there's like an age limit thing. They can't like the two older siblings cannot go back to Narnia after the second one. I don't know why specifically. I don't remember, but they don't get to go back. And then after the third one, when the two younger siblings go back again, they can't go back after that either. And I had 2 points I was gonna say with it though that I liked about it. That I think that's interesting with it is that, like, for one, they get like a full lifetime sort of experience in the first film with their stuff, and then they like lived as adults. They like grew up essentially, and then they're back in kids' bodies, and then so they've got the knowledge and experience of adults, but they're back to being kids. And then they go back into the world on accident. They're like sort of called there, I suppose.
Wait, so I don't get how my idea of like, all right, time stops in this real plane when they go into Narnia and they can come out at the same age they were.
You said they can.
Why wouldn't you just keep hopping in and out?
You
every
said
second?
that they can just hop in and out. For some reason, in their world, they cannot just hop in and out.
That sucks.
They tried to go back into the wardrobe and the portal was not there or whatever. They were only called back this time because somebody blew a horn that calls them back. I don't know. I'm just trying to simply list something here.
Well, no, I'm just, with like a real thought process of religion, I'm like comparing it. Where it's like, why the fuck would I want to be in Earth if I go to Narnia?
I don't know why the religious thing is just so much on the front of it. I'm just, it's supposed to be adventure too and stuff. So that's kind of
Daytona says Narnia was off limits to Susan and whoever because they became two of the world rather than being in the world. Corrupted.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like you grow up, you kind of grow out of it, sort of.
Kind of like Polar Express, where most kids, even if they go to Santa Land, they get older and they like that was a funny dream. Yeah, and they lose the magic and imagination. But like the one kid,
they take things they learned there, but they don't really think about it anymore.
Jesus didn't love them anymore, so the portal closed. No soup for you, said Jesus.
Yep, not anymore. Nope.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, well, I guess there's like, for whatever reason, an arbitrary cap on like, all right, you had your adventure, now get away, and the portal's closed. It just it sounds like it's inconsistent. So I'm already like, fuck this.
Well, I don't go based off of what I'm saying specifically.
Well, I'm putting it with what he adds too.
But it's like, my point is that I liked the concept of like them gaining the knowledge and experience of stuff. And then they have to be kids and they're trying, like, they don't show that much of it in the second film where they're in the real world, but it's like, one of them's getting in a fight with some kids and he's like, we freaking ruled lands and stuff. Like, this is pathetic being around here. And then they go back and it's all different. It's not as wonderful as they remember. Like all the magical crap has been reduced because there's been a whole bunch of humans around there that have industrialized stuff. They're advancing the technology in that world, sort of, and like chopping down trees and stuff. And you get Peter Dinklage in there, who this is sort of Tolkienian, I would think, in that kind of way where like the one of them tries to talk to a tree and he's like, why are you talking to the tree? It's just like, well, that's what they used to do. It's just like, he's like, if you're they be quiet for a while, it's just not going to happen. They're just talking about some regression of some of the stuff. And then there's like the king of the people or whatever that's around there, the enemy force, gets challenged by Peter, who's like basically 18 or something in this, I think. And he's, fighting him. And it's like, because of all the experience, like they're shocked. Like he's a super young boy. How is he like that experienced? And it's like they do a decent like fight scene for what it's worth there. So there's stuff in it that I think is worth seeing with it. It's not entirely bullshit with it, though. A lot of it is pretty lame. Yes, a lot of it is. And maybe that's what you and I need to watch it at some point, because there's we can rip on we can rip on them too.
No, God, no.
Because we could also rip on them for sure.
That means I have to watch it.
Yeah, but that's what happens sometimes. But anyway, there's some parts that I think were fine. But
yeah, well, before I forget, because they make it very clear that like, because I would assume Oppenheimer is German. Maybe he is German Jew or something, like, racially, his history, his ancestry. But because he makes a point of like this, Robert Downey Jr.'s character is like, he says like Oppenheimer, or he says it one way, and he's like, or he corrects him about saying Strauss instead of Strauss, and he's like, well, Oppenheimer, either way, they know I'm Jewish. And so I just think it's funny after seeing the whole movie. It's like, yeah, it's funny, there's this whole quote unquote conspiracy about the Jews control the world or whatever, or elements of it. And I watched a 3-hour biopic about the greatest weapon created in the history of mankind by a Jew. It's a little funny. So something meta there.
So what you're saying is that Hitler either wasn't thorough enough, the Nazis didn't, they drove them to their own, they had them create the thing.
It's
empire.
So
like
many
we built we were closing our grasp on them, but then our tightening of the fist so quickly, led them to create a thing that like, oh crap, changed.
Yeah,
everything.
they said something in the movie about how, because Oppenheimer apparently is like the guy, even if there was quantum physics in America, it's like he's the one that really brought it to the forefront in America and got the attention through his papers and research and whatnot, his classes, brought it to the forefront to then be tied with the Manhattan Project. And they say something about how, well, the German, the general that like is interviewing him possibly to put him on the project or make him director, Oppenheimer sees her and is like, oh yeah, you want me for the job because I'm brilliant. He's kind of self-aware of, I'm the shit. And so he has a bit of an ego. And it's kind of cool back and forth because Matt Damon plays the general that's in charge, I guess, of the Manhattan Project, or at least Oppenheimer's Los Alamos venture. And he's like, oh, the Germans are 12 months ahead of us on this race to make this bomb. And he's like, 18 months. And he's like, but we have an advantage. Like, all of our scientists are Jewish. He's like, what are you talking about? It's like anti-Semitism. That'll be an angle to catch up or to beat them, because we have like a personal investment against an anti-Semitic regime that's out to kill us all. That will be the motivation. He's trying to say like, oh, how am I going to get all these scientists to like tag along for possibly years? And it's like, we got to let them bring their family, and they're Jewish. Most of these guys are Jewish, so there's a personal vendetta there to do this, to complete the task against this regime. And it's funny because like he's like, Hitler said quantum physics is Jewish, and so we're going to use that to our advantage in various ways. It's like they've set themselves back by not embracing these scientists because of the wrong ethnicity. It's kind of interesting, like, man, fuck the Nazis, man. If they just like pulled like an empire where ultimately the empire is an extension of the Sith agenda, but it's a pragmatic government aside from the agenda behind the scenes to destroy the light side and the Jedi and whatnot. And it just makes you think, man, if Nazis and Hitler just had a little more restraint, like,
the German Empire wouldn't be such a like iconic evil of mankind if they were just a regime like Alexander the Great, or Caesar or something, where it's like political. It's just, hey, let's advance our borders. But there was this intrinsic like cleansing of races as well that was outright.
There's I'm watching Andor a little bit. I'm on like episode 5, and there's a lot of great freaking dialogue in this here and there. And there's a part where a couple of Imperial officers like talking to each other, and they're like talking about people that are on this planet essentially. And they were like, they're like, okay, there's like 60 people down there now that come to this event and see what's here, but
9.
like it used to be 15,000, and people will be like, what's, you like killed them all? It's like, no, we there's, if you distract them enough, if you slowly give them things that they think they need, which they don't, or whatever, they'll forget about what they wanted anyway, and be too distracted by all these other options of things, and less go. Like they built taverns and like shops or something, and they have jobs, different things, like stuff that makes it easier on them whenever they can chill, have a good time around here. And then it's like their gathering to this like area is like lessened, and they're planning to like build some stuff on this planet or whatever, this clearing a spot, but without just like eliminating all these people and without doing whatever. It's like over 10 years slowly like got them to separate. And this is like a small example potentially of like the rest of the galaxy, sort of. It's a slow burn of like, doing that. But we know of course that they, when they get the Death Star going, then happens there. But it's like I like their description of this, that it was like they won't even really know, or by the time they do, it's too late to really do anything about it.
Yeah, that's the thing with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing is like, well, why don't they just take, it's like, well, yeah, there's war and they're like blowing up some stuff, but it's like, no, they want this area. They're not just, like like a black flag, just nuke them, even if they don't actually use a nuke, but just, obliterate the population and take it. It's like, well, no, they want a net positive for the Empire of Russia. Otherwise, like slaughter everybody.
Well, and there's also just like along with that, there's another good line from another character. I think this was from like more of a rebel perspective, but it's like,
wait, what was this in? Is this an Andor?
This is an Andor.
Okay.
They're having a conversation with Andor, and the conversation, I forget specifically what it was, but it was basically, oppression. It takes a lot of hard work. Like it's a constant job. You can't just lazily oppress. You have to
you see that in history.
It is a difficult thing to manage, so they have to like create illusions. They have to make you think, they have to get people that aren't fully with them to still kind of be in line in some sort of way. They have to respond to certain things more directly. Like there's certain things they're going to be stretched so thin, like they can't respond to everything. They can't have like an armada of things everywhere. Like you have to be more careful with how you do it. And so the people trying to fight this have to choose kind of smart where they want to attack. And if they take their time to attack the Empire too much, then that might actually give them time to, try to fill those holes and grasp that down. So it's like to adapt and respond. So a lot of good stuff in there so far. I'm really liking it.
Yeah. I mean, you see it like China, where it's like they're very buttoned up, versus America, we're so free that the freedom really is the greatest control, within reason, I guess. But, we have so much freedom that, people get politically motivated to make a TikTok or something, but no one's actually doing anything. The rioters of BLM burning their city, like they really just screw themselves. They were pawns. And now, like, no one gives a fuck about BLM. They were a pawn to get a cog.
It was a fad
of the election, of certain people that will buy into this.
I changed lives with my black square on Instagram.
Yeah, I agree. Tim, you saw Barbie, right?
Yep, I did.
What would you give it a score?
Ooh,
well, oh man, this can't be good.
Yeah. Now, I've been trying to think how to process this and how to take it. I don't think it's like utter trash. There's some really great performances, but like the overly progressive feminist stuff, like was just bleeding throughout, and like especially at the end, and I thought they were doing a nice bait and switch with Ken and the Kens. That's why I said Ken
No.
Lives Matter. So I actually did enjoy some of that stuff. And yeah, like you guys were saying, I mean, visually stunning. I think all the performances were really good, but it's just the story, and I think it was overly bloated, especially towards the end, and they didn't know how to end it. But out of 10, I don't know, man. Like right now, maybe a 6.5. I don't think it's horrible. I mean, there was things that were really done well, but then like it just the writing on the stuff, and they like kind of forget. I really liked stuff they were doing with Ken, and she was just like,
we need
"Oh,
a
I'm
kid
sorry."
movie. Kid movie
I
now.
know. But then, like, you know, it was also kind of the thing is like Barbie didn't accept Ken, and like, you know, those two are kind of intertwined, and they go very meta in this movie. And I was just like, why didn't Ken? You know, there was no payout for that really. And then by the end of the thing, it showed me
No, Tim, you're Knuff.
I'm enough. I'm canceled.
No. His hoodie, it
Oh.
says like I'm Knuff. Like
I am
yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
Enough. I'm enough. Yeah, it's the thing, like he like that song that like battle that turned into the musical bit.
Yeah.
It's like this is why it's a great. I think this is great because their attempt at this feminist thesis film is a self-own, because it really the resonant part to me as a guy, I'm biased I guess, but the resonant part that stuck out was like the plight of men, where it's like, you know, this whole thing is like, I just want to be Ken, I want to be enough, you know, it's like I don't want to have to look over my shoulder because, oh, that guy's better, I'm gonna go chase him, you know, you're not enough, Ken, I want something more, you know, it's the male plight of we gotta earn our attraction from women. Like there's an implicit just you're hot, but then you gotta like follow through eventually to have a real relationship. And
yeah, I mean, there's some good things in there.
You gotta jump the ladder to be worthy, and then you gotta sustain it. But then the domestic life makes you Homer Simpson, and then they hate you. And you know, and so that's the reality. And so this film on accident shows that plight of the male struggle. And that's why I kind of love this movie, because this film is bigger than their intent. And that's why it's a cell phone, in my view. And that's why I find so much enjoyment out of it, because we need a Ken movie. They even do this in the movie. It's like, man, Ken World, we're selling, the toys are flying off the shelves. Boys love Ken. Whee! And it's like, why would you worry about making Barbie shit then? Like,
that's true.
Idiots.
Yeah. It's like who all goes, like the action hero movies, most of the population is guys that go see those type of stuff. So like Ken was becoming like this icon in and himself, and you know, obviously different variations, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because like this is a film that it's like, will this film actually succeed because the men went to see it as well? It's
I'm gonna laugh, and it's like, man, men are loving Barbie. It's like kind of, because you got Margot Robbie being just fucking naturally hot and running around in different Barbie wardrobes, having like, you know, Barbie skirts that it's like, man, that's almost just short enough, you know. So you're like, just the physical appeal of Margot Robbie on screen and all of her attire, her cowboy suit. You know, when she gets arrested, she's in her roller suit. And then they get arrested again because they stole cowboy clothes.
They just want to put her in handcuffs again and again.
Yeah, and they arrest her, and it's like they even say it's like, she's even better with more clothes. And he's like, yeah, because you imagine her without those clothes. Like they say that out loud with arresting her and booking her. And it's meant to be like, man, sexist man.
Wait,
it's like,
that's like,
exactly.
Bro,
I love it.
That's fist bump, bro. That's like, yeah.
Yeah, imagine Barbie with less clothes. This is awesome. High five, bro. We arrested Barbie.
We're gonna watch Barbie with the brewskis have a beer, and we're gonna watch Ken bro out with this shit. Let's go.
Yeah, I like how the Kens become like these overly like stereotype frat boys, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
No, one thing I thought was really good in there was the fire when they were playing the guitar by the beach. And then it just seemed like it was just Ryan Gosling Ken. But then it showed it was like all the Kens serenading the women. And then it was like very like Thor, not Thor, but that one movie, Greek mythology, help me out, Troy, like how battles get started because of women. And that's
Right.
essentially what the women did. And that's where I took it, because men were kind of like archaic like that and didn't even recognize that they were just playing them with that kind of Trojan horse. Meanwhile, they're like voting and it was all women there. So
yeah, this is why it's a great self-own, because the great triumph of the Barbies was manipulating and lying to Kens, and so like their only success is through villainy ultimately. And so it's like, wow, great summary of feminism, women. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah, they didn't even realize what they were doing. Idiots.
That's why I love it. It's beautiful. The right, Ben Shapiro should be promoted. This needs to make everyone go see Barbie and see how like feminism really fucking burns the world down, because if every girl just like embraced being a mother and wife, the world would be at peace. That was how Rome worked. Like Christianity loves to take ownership of monogamy, but it was actually already a thing in Rome, pagan Rome, because they figured out it's just pragmatics. It's like if you are building an empire, you need to sustain a militaristic workforce to maintain your empire. Instead of having a few guys with lots of money having harems, if you spread it evenly on the butter of monogamy, more guys are fucking more girls, having more babies to replenish your ranks of your military to maintain control. And so, voila. And you had lots of times of peace in Rome. Besides their like attempts at extending their borders, you had a lot of peacetime in Rome proper.
Yeah. One thing that lost me, they were talking about like the real world compared to the Barbie world kind of towards the end. And they were talking about like equality on that stuff. And they had to throw in that like kind of line that they were like, well, all the men aren't going to get the jobs or be like kind of like equal, because in society, the real world, that's the men are the inverse, right? Like they're the ones that succeed in the real world, but the women are the one neglected. But not in Barbie world, it's the other way around. And we'll we'll only give you small judge jobs, like maybe circuit court and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's
so you're going to cap job opportunities based on sex, and that's supposed to be a positive.
Yeah.
But then we're bad for doing that, even though we don't do that in the West. It's equal opportunity.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That should be the indictment too, is like they kind of obscure the fact that the West, even though our history has been patriarchal, we're very much equal opportunity. We have all these initiatives. We're like, no, you can't just hire men. They kind of force you to have diversity of sex and race and stuff. And yet it's just white men in charge is the takeaway. And it's like, that's a very problematic takeaway if you start like deducing these realities of like, America's pretty equal actually, but it's still men in charge.
Yeah. I did like that line. There was a little pushback on it, which I liked, obviously with some of the Ken stuff. But when we got to Mattel, Will Ferrell brought up some good points. Like, wait a second, the owner, blah, blah, blah. And there were other women. And then the owner, the person that started Barbie at the very end said, well, I had tax evasion and all this other stuff. So she kind of like admitted that, she messed up. So
she was not good with money. And yeah. So it's like, Now, there is good message. This is very much Frozen. The takeaway, like Frozen, upends the princess trope of the prince needs to, in some form or fashion, win the affection of the prince, and then she's happily ever after by embracing, quote unquote, the patriarchal system. Because marriage is, in some form of fashion, it is an ownership exchange. The father hands over the authority of his daughter to the new son-in-law. It is, historically, this is how you made alliances, a king has a daughter, he marries her off to a prince, and thus those two kingdoms are united instead of being at war. It mitigates, it is an extension of a political alliance. And this movie, like Frozen, vilifies that, with the kin relationship of Barbie versus like marriage of a princess and Frozen, whatever. It's like they give you this message of like, oh, you can only be powerful if you're just independent and single. And it is ultimately an anti-family takeaway, philosophy, whatever. It's just
I got that.
It's not that it's overt, but it's like when I write it down and I start like doing the math, it's like, oh, family bad, and it's like, I just don't see how that's uplifting. It's not bad to like, civilization has worked for thousands of years. And even if you have like polygamy, or whatever, have harem for a guy or just monogamy, this is the system. And it's worked. Yeah. It's kept civilization flowing, more or less.
Yeah, and that's a philosophical question. Like we're kind of talking about, like with, when the Barbies, they were happy with the men, but like they had like this MacGuffin or whatever you could call it, like this kind of changing point for the women to come back to their ways. But they seem pretty attached to the men. Like they almost act like the men mind control them in a way. And they weren't like seeing logic, but then they throw in like feminine like logic, and then they're like, "Oh no, we're back. Remember, you're a president, and you believe in all this thing." So that was kind of strange. But
well, it's like she was president this whole time, and then Kin World happens, and then she's happy to go along with Kin World, and they got to convince her to not. They got to like teach her to manipulate and lie to undo it. When it's like you were totally fine and happy to go along with it. So what was the problem?
Yeah.
So that was funny. But yeah, Rookie's going to start walking us through some Shadowverse, and we're going to comment on, I already assume, his ass takes.
Well, I don't know. I think ones that, because I didn't see it, so as far as the movie, but I saw his review here. So he says that this is like 0 out of 10 territory.
Oh, dang.
I just need to start talking about spoilers, really, because
let's just warning out, jumping straight into spoilers because it needs to be pulled apart.
This is 0 out of 10 territory for me because it's just propaganda. It's just ideology meant to indoctrinate, and I can't stand it. And it's got the most veneer wrapping of a film when I say it's bad, right? This is why we need to go into spoilers to explain just how bad and why I have such a low rating on it. But did you want to give a rating? You don't have to.
Again, I forget exactly.
No, I'm inclined not to give ratings. I just worried about money and themselves.
And power and controlling and keeping women down. And it's the most hyper-exaggerated insanity you could imagine. And it's like a feminist wet dream because they think the world is that way. But also, I really get the impression they want the world to be this way to validate all their resent and their activism and stuff, because that means
pause it. Yeah, that is the female thing. It's like have your cake and eat it too, where it's like this is just women's nature. Like you see this in Red Pill Talk, where it's like, why do women cause drama? And it's like this is their nature. They're always like things are great, and then they just make a fight out of nothing, and it's an implicit female trait of causing disharmony in the relationship or whatever, your life. It's a big shit test. They're all like, women are programmed to shit test you repeatedly for no fucking reason when things are great. And so you always got to stay on your toes as a man in a relationship. And yeah, so this whole like, oh, they want to do this. They want to upend this and complain about it, but they want to sustain it so they can complain. Like, that's just women. Like when a woman nags about her fucking work colleagues and you're trying to like offer don't just listen. Don't offer any advice.
You can give solutions, but that doesn't matter. That's
no, like it sounds funny, like I'm being like, oh, stupid women. No, this is for real. When women nags about her life outside of your relationship about other people, don't offer any like, oh, well, like do that or try this or blah blah blah, or maybe don't be friends with that person. No, they don't want to. They just want to complain. This is women, so. It's weird hearing a guy. I don't know how long he's been married to this woman, but
he's got like 5 kids. He's got a big family.
Exactly. I feel like this, like, I don't know how you're this unaware if you're married and have 5 kids. That's
they're in Australia.
At best, you're popping. If I'm trying to condense time to figure out his marriage, at best he's had a kid every year. So at least he's been with her for 5 years, and he hasn't figured this out. And so, like, I think
the oldest kid is like 10,
I think he should have more in-depth experience to understand that this is women. This isn't just feminism. And so this is the problem with these people, where it's like, I feel like if you're just honestly talking to this guy, he would come to this conclusion I'm talking about. But then he's got to sell, oh, I didn't like it because the feminism is rage. That's why I get so irritated with people like this, because they got to gin up, even if it's a problem that they personally like, or it is indoctrination, whatever. They're turning it to 11 instead of like appropriately, like I hate feminism. It's all this crap. I don't like this propaganda stuff, but it's like comparing it to like a film I haven't watched, but I've read about, the movie Men. It's like that is intrinsically over the top propagandized viewpoint versus this is like feminism 101 complains. It's
like, this
really
is what
nothing.
happens when you let women make a film, right? That's the kind of thing.
So I'm laughing. Let me see what Karen says. I'll say nothing because Angus told me to shut up, silly woman.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay.
Oh, and Tim, you can chime in
a
too.
Man and
Yeah. No, I
make
think we pretty
propaganda
much
junk
nailed it.
like this. And so Ken discovers patriarchy in the real world, takes it back to Barbie world, overtakes Barbie world.
That's something I don't understand. So he discovers, the way he describes it is that he captures patriarchy in an orb and takes it back and unleashes it to Barbie world. Is that what happens? Is that kind of what happens?
So, okay, they come into the real world and Barbie instantly starts feeling anxious because of all the guys ogling her, or we're like, wow, what a crazy fucking, because she's wearing like crazy 80s pastel roller suit.
Right. Well, it stands out, and that's actually a funny thing already right there. That stands out compared to what women wear.
Everyone else is wearing is
so
like
that in general they'll catch women's eyes too. Like what?
Right. But it's almost all men that are ogling them. And then one time, there's like apparently like a gay guy, like, ooh, and Ken's like, he's unaware because he's not actually sexual.
He's really just like, thank you, wow. Okay.
He's like, yeah, he feels confident, like, oh, what like an ego boost, like, wow, like he's loving beach Ken, awesome, man, I'm feeling great. And Barbie's like, more and more every second, feeling more and more anxious because everyone's ogling her, and now she's self-conscious. And she even states that in like this film is very much like the template of Third Rock from the Sun, where Third Rock from the Sun is every episode is a new experience because they're aliens, so everything is new, and they are essentially a science team studying humanity and doing it by blending into humanity, but they stand out because they're fucking aliens, so they don't know what they're doing, and so they're trying to be incognito, but they're in human skin suits essentially. And so they're fucking odd, and it makes for great comedy because even trivial shit they can perceive a totally wacky way and make a funny plot every episode. And so that's kind of what Barbie is, because they're not from the real world. Like when she pours a cup of milk, it's a plastic milk jug into a plastic cup with nothing in it. So she's like, gulp, 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 but there's actually nothing coming up because she's a toy. And now she's in the real world, so she gets a glass of water and pours it on her face. Like, oh, nothing actually comes out in where I'm from. Like,
that reminds me of SpongeBob when they're gonna go onto the surface, and then he gives them a glass of water, but there's nothing in it, and he's like, "Glug, glug, glug, thank you," but nothing comes out of it or whatever.
Well, because they're in water, so it's funny. Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That reminds me of that kind of.
This film kind of reminds me of like Matrix-esque, but even when we go into Mattel, even that's kind of like parody satire because all the people inside that are very like cartoonish.
they're all the same. They're all suits or interns.
Yeah. And I think the issue with that, like bringing back like the kin knowledge or whatever from the patriarchy, I think the passage of time is confusing. If they would explain a little bit of that, but maybe time works different in Barbie Land because how could Ken change like the whole way of think there, like within hours or like.
Because he's a man
it wasn't
getting the job done. That's what you do.
Man, do it better, right?
Yeah, that's why I keep saying meme. Because like when King comes to the world, he sees like everything's masculine, the buildings are masculine, nothing's like pink and pretty and girly. It's all intrinsically male. Everything we do, everything, even women doing a job, it's all masculine. And they go to the library. He goes to the library while Barbie's on her mission. She thinks to help the girl when it's actually what she's seeing is in her visions was the mom playing with Barbie. So when she goes to like talk to her, Ken goes in the library and he sees all these like books and he like grabs them to like study. And he's like, wow, patriarchy. Cool. And so, yeah, he takes these very surface level memes and misappropriates the full extent. And so he brings this very surface level frat dude, bro, ideas and imagery back to, so like he thinks horses are like tied directly to like masculinity. And so it's like equal parts dude bro and horses. So everything's kind of cowboy-esque too.
So, yeah, I was thinking about something. Maybe I would like to see an origin story of like how Barbie World started, but like maybe the Ken dolls were already like super smart, but they just got treated dumb, so they think they're dumb, and that's why Ken was able to absorb all this information real quick.
Yeah, see,
I don't know.
Problematic for their intent. That's why I love it, because as soon as you like give Ken's any sensibilities, any sentience, they like wake up and they're productive. And it upends the whole society of Barbie Land because it's so superficial. And I don't mean that like indicting, oh, girls are superficial, Barbie, no, Barbie's a great icon of toys. And, the fact that the girl says like, oh, you ever since you've been made, you give women a bad self-image. And it's like, if it's not the creator, it's someone that's worked at Barbie. It's like, this whole thing's stupid. Barbie is not meant to be an ideal form. No one can have the form of Barbie. We made a doll that could wear clothes. If we made them proportionate to humans, they would look blocky and chunky. And so they have a literally impossible figure compared to humans. So the fact that anyone actually looks at Barbie and thinks, oh my God, I'm not pretty like Barbie. I don't have her features. No one does. No one can. She's a fucking cartoon.
It's literally like when people say like, men, like we really don't compare ourselves to things like that. Like
no, we do. We're like,
we're not
James Bond. Fuck, I need a suit. I need to be masculine. I need to drink martinis.
We don't
want to
say
be cool.
We don't get bummed that we won't look like that someday. It's what I'm saying.
Well, beta males do that are feminized. they internalize this feminine energy, and so then they become self-loathing.
But normal guys are like, wow, that's cool, huh? I want to be like that or something, rather than like, I can't be like that, so I don't. Why even bother? They need to make pussy ones that are better.
Normal men, when we do self-depreciate, when we see meme ideals of masculinity, like Thor when his shirt's off, we're like, fuck, it ends up being productive. It's like, fuck, I need to go to the gym. Damn it, I need to go to school. And like Oppenheimer, like that's not even like the angle isn't necessarily masculine, but you watch Oppenheimer, and if that's like a meme of like the pinnacle of like smart guy, it's like, fuck, I need to quit playing video games. I need to like study physics and make the next A-bomb, like it's all productive. Our when we see imagery, it's like we compare positively of like, how can I be? There's a intrinsic envy of like a motivating envy is what men internalize when we see masculine ideals versus women instantly self-depreciate and oh, she's better. I'll never be like that. There's always this like self-doubt, self-hate. I think it's just men versus women. You know, it's like we start at zero, and women are always like going down. Like you'll have the trope of women. Oh, tell me I'm pretty, and then like 20 guys. You see it on Twitter, it's like. I'm not pretty when I don't wear makeup. And all these guys, no, you're so hot. And she'll still feel sad because she thinks that about herself. No one can change that. Versus men, you say, man, you're looking pretty good. It's like, oh, wow. I never thought that. Thanks. That's the difference.
Yeah, girls will be like, compliment the chick, then turn around the corner and like, oh my gosh, what a, slap or whatever. And then like and act like their best friend. Men will be like, bro, you're looking good. And like I get more compliment. Like I'm a gym goer, did bodybuilding. I'd get more compliments from men all the time. And the women will get compliments from women and men. And the women are always like, they're always dressing up to like make other women kind of jealous of each other. Like, oh my gosh, look so pretty. And it's like, well, you got all these piercings and stuff like that. And I've dated girls like that too, and I'm just like, who are you doing this for? I think you look pretty. You don't have to do this and that, and have your boobs.
Doesn't matter.
Like yeah.
She doesn't, or her ideal. She hasn't gotten the attention of. So it doesn't matter what you say. You're a placeholder. Yeah. It's not. I'm not being black pill. It's just reality. I really hate black pill. Black pill is feminism for men. It's like the world's never good, and it's just they've given up. It's incel. Male feminism. I hate black pill. Like fucking whatever the plight or whatever the obstacles of being a man today is, those are just challenges to overcome or to at least strive to overcome. You're not going to get everything, That's the thing too I love about like red pill talk, whatever, is like, oh, a guy might be alpha in these ways, but he's a beta. So like it's always in flux. Your alpha beta status. It's always in flux. There's always a blind spot. Maybe it's just something you've never interacted with, but like, you could get the gym guy and you take him to a Magic the Gathering event. And it's like, well, you're not the alpha here. You're an idiot. You don't know this spell. You don't know that turn. Oh, you're deck. What a noob,
Yeah.
So it's like, that's just one little like comparison, but this is the whole thing about life where it's like, yeah, everyone's a beta in some way that they could improve. Maybe it's just something that they're not interested in, they never cross, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, not everything's universal. And I think like with the red pill people, I listen to them. I listen to some of the black people, and I try to listen to people in the middle. I think it's just find a balance. And I think things are situational. It's not always going to be the same.
It's funny though. I forgot. When you're going on about like compliments to the gym, I was going to be like, honey, I got news for you. That's a gay bar, not a gym. Yeah, what's up, Laszlo Panaflex? Says, cool, you're streaming. Greetings to Black Angus. Fuck, I said Angus. What the hell? Black Angus. Panel
Angus,
and
bro.
yes.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for joining. We are loving this Barbie talk. I never expected to actually go see this and be like, wow, so much thoughts. Like, I really want to like buckle down and write an essay about the feminist cell phone that is Barbie. Because I think there's just so much food for thought. This is a great well of discussion that most of these idiots like Shad are just going to like, feminism. No, feminism. It's like, that's the depth. There's like, okay, that is some value, I guess, but that's all you have, but let's continue. I mean, I am enjoying what he's offering because of our talks around it.
With patriarchy, and Barbie has to save Barbie world from Ken and patriarchy with I'm not kidding, feminist propaganda, okay? And when I say, and it's also like the most contradictory, horrible type of like, what's the word? It's like like hyper indulgent, exaggerating, playing into women's insecurities type of propaganda to justify all this type of sticking it to the man stuff. They save it with that. That's the film. It is a film that defeats patriarchy. Patriarchy is the enemy. Ken is the enemy, the bad guy. And Barbie defeats patriarchy
by insecurities.
By insecurities and feminism.
They list that the when she goes on her rant or whatever, right? That she says that women are too skinny or something, saying that these are things that men say, but that it's what women say to each other or something.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's like you look at one of the top porn stars. It's Angela White. She's got big natural titties. And she's not like necessarily fit in any way. Like she clearly has maintained her figure for years, but it's not like ridiculous. It's not like any woman couldn't maintain that size. She's a plumper girl and guys love her. Cody Vore is one I love. And she's like just an average kind of like milker mommy. You know, there's nothing like she's kind of chubby. So like this idea of like women put this on themselves is the problem. They want to complain about like image stuff, but it's like you realize how low the bar is. Like if you put out, we'll accept anything. Maybe we'll say in long-term relationships, if you're just like feminine enough, you know, it's not a high bar you have to hit for in regards to relationships. Versus like all the things that they say, well, a guy's got to do this and that. He's got to have this much money. He's got to be this tall. He's got to have this going. That it's like all the checklists a guy's got to hit. Versus like, does she put out? And it's like, all right, I can live with that. We want more. We want depth in a relationship, but it's like, you know, like all this talk. It boils back down to like relationships ultimately, and the necessities each sex requires. And it's funny, the disparity versus how women view what the disparity is. And so I see that as like an extension from all this.
I suppose so.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not kidding. You think I'm exaggerating? I'm not. The false.
No, mute the ad. Mute it. All right, we're back.
The extreme feminist movement is that all these kind of difficulties that exist in life are unique to women, and men, this film is just like men have all the power. They're always on top. Everyone listens to them. They ask men for the time. They're always given regard and consideration. Well, no, the reality is men have their own different types of issues that we have to deal with that women don't have to deal with. For instance, sympathy for suffering. Okay, men get far less sympathy when they're suffering, when they're pain, and everything like that. In fact, men are expected to die before women because it is the male role to protect women and children. So if the Titanic is going down, who gets saved, right? And genuinely, a woman who is in pain and is suffering will get more, concern, consideration, and charity than a man will, even to the point that women receive less, like lower penalties for the same crime than what men do in the judicial system. Okay, that's
so. Yeah, you can agree with that, or
yeah, believe all women, right? Like the whole Johnny Depp debacle. So I agree.
Oh,
with that.
fuck. Oh my god, Johnny Depp.
Shad does have good pause faces.
It's funny because like you see his thumbnail where it's like, man, he really ginned that one up. But then I watch him, I'm like, oh wow, he's that expressive all the time.
Yeah, he's a good actor with this stuff. I like the expressions that he has.
Based on what I do, my merit.
Pieces with nothing of value to offer. And on top of that, the Kens don't even have homes to live in, literally. Shows
they make that point in the movie. It's like, where do Kens live? And they're like, I don't know. And it's funny because like I think they show in the trailer is like every night's a girls' night after like their mass Barbie parties. And then Ken's like trying to go in for a kiss, and he's just like waiting there, and then he like backs off, like, man, that was awesome, and because like like sex is not a factor in this world. It's just like, oh, Ken and Barbie were a thing, but they don't even understand what that actually could be or what to do. And so he's like, I was thinking I could like
stay at your house tonight with you. She's like, can do one. He's like, I actually don't know. But like that's his drive, even though he has no idea. And they don't have genitals in Barbie Land. They are the plastic, toys. They just have like the like leg joint blob for their genitals. They don't show that, but like they even make the weird Barbie makes a sexist joke sexualizing Ken. She mentions Gosling, like, oh, I love to see his genital blob.
Oh,
they do this in the same movie where like 10 minutes later they go into the real world and they're like sexualizing Barbie. I'm like, actually, you can keep the clothes, after they arrested her for stealing them. Like, because they're like, man, you're so hot. I'm imagining what you look like with less clothes.
That's another thing, like a little crack on that. Why, like, no, there's no bell. Like when they get like arrested, there's no bell there, and they get arrested twice. She just punches the dude that was like, I don't know. I guess not everything needs to be explained, but it's like, come on, like who bailed them out, or do they have court? What's going on? Maybe it's just for comedic reasons.
Yeah, like they're oblivious. So like, oh, they got arrested because they don't understand money for their wardrobe because they're not from this world. So again, that's like the alien thing.
Yeah,
that was fine.
It sounds like
it didn't need depth to explain that.
It sounds like they're blissfully ignorant about everything.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because their fucking kids' toys come to the real world, and so like no one else is aware that they're not people.
It's fish out of water story entirely.
Yeah, that's funny too, because like she talks with, I guess it's supposed to be like the ghost of the creator, and she's like, I want to be a person, I want to be human, and then like she's with her owner and daughter that came into Barbie Land, and the movie ends where she's like, I have an appointment, and she's like, last name Handler, or she's like Handler Barbie or Barbara, and she's like, all right, so what are you here for? She's like, I'm here to see my gynecologist, and it's like, and it's like,
so she's
really?
A real woman now. I'm a real woman,
right? I get, maybe that was the intent to like kind of parody or invert sexually the Pinocchio. I'm a real boy, but it's just like, again, this is supposed to be an all ages film. Like there is like Shrek humor of like it goes over a kid's head, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna beat you off so hard. It's like you don't even know how to beat anyone off. How are you gonna beat you off two of us? Because they're
kids are gonna repeat that.
You're gonna be like, ha ha, beach, ha ha, beach off, ha ha. Like, no, don't say that. Shut up. Like,
yeah,
that's funny. I like that kind of Shrek humor. But then again, like Barbie is a toy, so ultimately that's the recognition, is like, even if it's like 60 70 whatever it is, how long Barbie's been around, so it's like, oh, like grandma can go see, like, I remember my first Barbie, and haha, we're watching Barbie come to life, but then you have a like end joke like that, and it's just like, like how many people in the audience, given like you're thinking you're taking a bunch of like girls to see this, like how many like, what's a gynecologist?
I feel like no, that's what I was saying before. I feel like they knew that a lot of guys were going to see this film, and that these jokes are in there for that reason, maybe. Like, but it's like, I saw that and I'm like, I mean, if there was a gag of like, all right, I am Barbie and all I know is toy stuff, but I'm getting real woman procedures done, they're gonna fucking put a speculum in my pussy and stretch it to look in there. Like that would be funny. Like don't show that, but like have like shenanigans of like, all right, Barbie, you're in the real world, you gotta go see a doctor. I don't know why, but you gotta see a doctor. So then they're like trying to check up on her. She's like, whoa, what's that? And like you'd have like her being a child where it's like, oh wow, what's this toy? What do you do with that? What oh, what's that light? Like that would be a joke, not just I'm seeing the gynecologist. And they did that with like SNL, where there's like Mother's Day and they're all like reading 50 Shades of Grey or something, but the kids and father are coming in to surprise them with breakfast, and they're like, the mom's in bed, she's like shocked by that, oh no, God, and then they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sing on your microphone, and it picks up the vibrator, mommy. It's like, what you think, it's a microphone.
Or like Not Another Teen Movie, when she's like masturbating under the blanket, and then everyone keeps coming in and is like, oh, happy birthday, daughter, and she's like about to come and trying to like not
like that's explicitly like an adult setup joke, but like you can do something like that, like in that vein of like, oh wow, either the people around you don't get the situation, or you're like a child mind and don't get the adult situation you're in.
There was even a joke also between Simon Liu and Ryan Gosling's character when they're doing that dance in the room. I don't know where they're at. They're not on the beach at this point, right? Towards the later part, and Gosling's like, "Oh, they said like a kind of a dark joke that a kid wouldn't get," and I kind of missed the joke. Did you catch that? They said something about like going in me, or like, I don't know. I guess I have to watch the movie again or catch that clip. But there's a moment between Simon Liu's Ken and Ryan Gosling's Ken, and they say a line kind of like that, and they're like, "Oh." After the epic battle they had, right? They come together and form their alliance or whatever.
I might have picked it up in the moment, but it didn't stick for me to comment again. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to like take away from this movie as far as like moments or whatever. Like, oh, that thing. Yeah, it's just a lot to process.
Yeah.
All right, continue, Ricky.
Off, right? Where the Barbies retake Barbie Land. Okay.
By the way, his Australian accent, I keep on hearing Barbie. That's like the Australian.
Well, that's got to be fun for an Australian. Like, oh, we went to the Barbie. It's like, oh,
Going to
you were
the
grilling it.
Barbie.
No, the film Barbie. Like, huh? There's a film about grills. No, Barbie, the toy grill. Huh?
No, and then he says girl, but he says grill because the accent or something. Yes.
I'm so confused.
Okay. And they have an opportunity to restructure their society in a better way, because all the Kens feel really upset.
They feel hard done by.
Hard done by.
Yeah.
Like the Kens in the Barbie world were oppressed, basically.
Yeah.
They were disregarded as useless set pieces with nothing of value to offer.
And on top of that, the Kens don't even have homes to live in. Literally, only the Barbies have the homes. The Kens are homeless.
And the main Ken felt that this was really...
The Kens are homeless.
I like how he went back and added that like overdub commentary of his commentary.
I just like how it sounds. The Kens are homeless. It's like it's just another way that sounds funny.
Isn't feminism great for everybody?
It's like, yeah, see, like, so, like, the way that you put it, like, he's angry about it, but the way you put it is like, isn't it funny how they own themselves? It's like that. It is kind of funny to like looked at that way. Like, yeah, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, but they're failing miserably.
Like, this is great.
But also, like, they're eco-friendly as well because they don't use water. What about like electricity? At nighttime they use it, right? They require on the sun. Is that what's kind of going on? Because they have
I don't. It's Barbie Land.
What,
So
did
it's
they
just
have
a whole other.
photosynthesis?
I'm asking too many questions.
Did they have photosynthesis? Is that how they do anything?
Solar powered. That's what they are. Solar powered.
Right.
Like, smash them. You see baby doll heads exploding
Against each other, against the ground, just...
And I could not help but see that as a pretty apt allegory of how Hollywood likes to treat babies.
Motherhood.
Usually it's unborn babies that they want to kill. But also a statement on what they think of motherhood is like, these dolls were just teaching girls to just be mothers throughout their whole lives. And Barbie came along and showed them how they could break free
and have power,
break free of homemaking and the shackles of marriage and the man, and so kill and destroy your babies and go after the careers, because being in the workforce is clearly a means to gain greater happiness and satisfaction, stereotypically for women in general.
Yeah. No, I was surprised because that was like the first like trailer was the allusion, the homage to 2001 Space Odyssey's opening with the monkeys making the first weapon. And I was surprised that was the actual first scene of the film, and because like it seemed like it was just something made for a trailer, not in the film. And so I'm like, huh, interesting. And yeah, I did feel mixed emotions seeing, like, I get the idea of like, oh yeah, girls just had these boring baby dolls and they were just kind of indoctrinated to be moms, and that's fun for a while, but like all the girls are bored being moms with your baby dolls. And then Barbie in a bikini, well, it's like a one piece, but swimsuit, and it's like a liberating factor. And it's like, I kind of get that. That was the appeal. Like, that's intrinsically the appeal of Barbie coming on the scene, because it's like, oh, here's a grown woman doll you can play with, and anything is available. You can do anything with Barbie.
Well, hold on though. I was always, this is what doesn't make sense to me. I was always under the impression that it was with girls, like when they're at toddler age, they tend to play with the, like, oh, I'm the mommy and playing with the doll thing. And then when they're a little older, like say around 10, yeah, they'll probably have Barbies and whatever. And then they,
I would say it's like a meta
like
commentary
that,
scene
like,
about the revolution that Barbie was. And so in a way I'm fine, but yeah, the imagery,
because after Barbie, there was still like, they still had baby toys and they still be mom. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like they replaced
right, but Barbie is like the
still,
icon of girl toys. So
I guess,
you talk about films, it's like Star Wars changed the game. Star Wars is the pinnacle moment of film. It changed everything.
But it's phrased like that, like the one is gone now and this is what replaced it. It's like, well, no, it's just kind of more in the spotlight of it, I guess, because little girls would still do the, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it seems like a odd way to put it, I guess.
I just don't agree. I don't really have anything to add. It's like, I get what you're trying to say, but it's like I don't see it.
Okay.
But of course, like, I've actually found that women's happiness is going down a lot, and being in the workforce doesn't provide women stereotypically with happiness a lot. Like, shock and horror, turns out a lot of women find a lot of satisfaction out of being mothers.
Funny that.
It'll almost seem like there's this biological instinct that gives a hormonal kind of fulfillment in the act of having children and raising them. But to fathers as well, by the way, like, I think children are one of the sources of the most profound happiness in the world. And it's the biological nature that women, if a man or woman wants to raise a family together, it's going to physically affect the woman a bit more than the man, because they have to carry the child. And so, shock horror, this basic biological nature starts to kind of mold traditional gender roles, and that it's pretty convenient for the man to provide for his wife, his partner, while she is in, like,
growing a child.
Any comments?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He's nailing it.
I agree.
Yep, I agree as well.
It's a biological imperative. It's implicit. Your hormones change, you bond, you like Kill Bill. I just watched Kill Bill the other day, and she goes out from the gunshot to the head being pregnant, and she wakes up 4 years later and her extended womb is gone and flush. Her baby's gone. She assumes dead, and so it wrecks her, and you get, like, it's a great scene because it's like, yeah, like whatever she was before being this assassin, Charlie's Angels chick, now she was getting married. For like just what any woman can relate, even if they haven't had a child yet or gotten pregnant yet. It's like you totally get, without her saying anything, just her reaction to this revelation, and you empathize, and you get her going forward, her resolve to right this injustice, because yeah, like that is kind of, when James Cameron, everyone's triggered because he's like, if you go down the feminist rabbit hole, what's like the ultimate imagery you could go for? And his idea was like a pregnant chiefess that goes to battle to save her during pregnancy, goes to battle for her people's existence. And it's like, even if he's going down this like leftist idea of feminism, he came out the other end with motherhood as like the epitome of feminine energy. And so even if his mindset was like, let's go full woke, he came out with a very traditional, Christian view and I think it just kind of proves the point. That is the pinnacle, is motherhood. That is the power that no man can understand fully. And that's why we do all these other things. Even if we're childless, man spends a decade of his life to become a celibate father in the church. Like we go to ridiculous means to fulfill what women are naturally programmed biologically to like be content with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, Shad is like a big sword guy, knight stuff. So he's wearing like his knight cosplay. That's like his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of his videos. He wields actual swords, not just a LARPer.
Yeah, he's a good YouTuber overall for the most
Well, I
part.
was answering the chat, so.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
But it might sound random to y'all.
as far as takes, like I don't remember any other specific things other than like when they talk more about when it's Ken World.
Yeah, you mean
something. So I'll probably try to jump toward the end of their thing, and then we can go more to Oppenheimer, I suppose.
Feel safe, and it discovers that men rule the world, and there are all these like things where they're just showing men in advertisements. There's like images of the Rocky movies and stuff like that, and of course, I mean, women.
Wait. Pause it.
Like,
it's funny when he's like taking in the patriarchy of the world. He's like when they come in, they see a billboard of like Miss Universe, and it's like 9 women in like bikinis or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's the Supreme Court," because in Barbie Land, the Supreme Court's all women. It's just funny because like he mistakes a image of misogynistic sexualization of women to validate for men's pleasure, and he's like, "Oh, it's the Supreme Court," and that's supposed to be, I guess, a meta commentary in this whole feminist commentary of the world through this toy. I thought it was just funny.
No, I thought it was funny too. I noticed that too. I was just mad that Chuck Norris didn't make it, and John Claude and Arnold Schwarzenegger and possibly Michael Jordan.
They really,
Greg,
the director seems to hate Rocky and Sylvester Stallone as like masculine icons, and it's like you realize Stallone became an icon because of Rocky. I haven't even watched Rocky. I've started it. I just wasn't in the mood to watch it. Never seen Rocky. I'm a big Philly fan. Dude. Never watched Rocky. But anyway, the point I'm making is that film won Oscar, and he wrote that story. It's very much like a blue collar. Like, I'm aware of the film. It's very much like a blue collar film by like just a guy trying to break it into like acting and directing and stuff. And it's a great, it's like Kevin Smith making Clerks. It's just a great American success story in real life, having made that movie. And then she's like vilifying him as like an image and icon of masculinity. They also vilify when they're like telling all the Barbies to like trick Kens so they can steal another Barbie that he's like on a date with or whatever, to deprogram them. It's like
a Trojan horse.
They're giving them all these different avenues to trick them. Like the first one is like a Barbie pretends she can't work Photoshop, and so Ken's like, "Oh, I can. Let me show you. Here's how you do it." So mansplaining, and then later on, they steal one of the Barbies and say like, "Oh, what are you watching?" It's like, "Oh, is that The Godfather?" And he's like, "Oh, it's The Godfather." And it's just like, "Oh, have a manic mansplain The Godfather the whole runtime, so he'll never notice the other Barbie's gone." And it's like, what is your deal against Godfather? It is a fucking iconic film. Like, that was like the Infinity War of that time, because you never seen a major film through the eyes of the villain. And so it's just
I don't think she understands Rocky at all. Like, no, I love Rocky, and it's not just about Balboa. It's actually also about Adrian and their relationship. and about like unity and family and his relationship with his trainer.
Evil patriarchy.
Yeah, it's so much more than that. And like she like, I don't know, she's jaded by her like whatever we're gonna call it today, but I don't know. I can go on a whole tangent about that, but
this is a great time capsule. We're gonna look back on this film 30 years later and be like, wow, that was people are gonna come into it, you know, fresh in 30 years and be like, what the fuck was wrong with you people? Why would you made a movie about an iconic toy coming to life in the real world, crossing a rift, and it was just propaganda? Like I'm not denying it's a propagandist film. I just don't think it's really something to rage about. I think there's a lot of accidental positives to take away. I think Ben Shapiro should like praise this movie. I'm having a good time. And it's also, there is a lot of enjoyable like jokes and, you know, the idea of like the Barbie world and how they live and then coming to the real world and being aliens, you know, like it's just a lot of fun ideas. I just think they should have just stuck with, this is one of those was like, however fun this movie was, how fun could it have been if you just made it a self-indulgent, I'm Barbie, I'm going to wear a different dress in 2 hours. Tea party. You know? Yeah, oh my God, you're so pretty too. Also, there's a fat Barbie. All right, there's like obviously just fat Barbie, and they're like, "Oh, hi Barbie," and they're all saying "Hi Barbie" to each other. And then there's fat Barbie, and they try to like.
Is that like a deep voice? Hi Barbie.
They have a tranny Barbie.
I
think it's the YouTuber ContraPoints. Who's a tranny.
I knew instantly when I saw. I was like, "Dude, that's a dude." Like,
yo, that's a man.
Well, it was like she's, you know, it's all subjective, guy to guy, but you know, I am an outright lover of hot trannies, and she's not like a porn star tranny.
Fair enough.
It's like pretty enough, but then she talks, and you hear like the voice crack, estrogenized man voice. And she like has like a big yell or something, and it's like like a cracking teen boy because of the estrogen, you know. So it's like but then like when Ken World takes over, they have her like in a maid suit. I'm like, tranny Barbie could get it. Not bad, not bad. More work to be done to fully feminize you, but not bad. And yeah, I was expecting, knowing that the tranny's in the film as a Barbie, I was expecting them to actually showcase her, you know, whatever. I'm trying to define the tranny Barbie from the rest of the Barbies. So I thought they're going to like make a point to showcase, like in the opening montage about Barbies or whatever, and they're showing like all the different, Barbie can do anything. There's a fucking astronaut Barbie, there's a fireman Barbie. They're all like real women, but standing like they're toys, just like Margot is in her bikini suit. I thought they were going to showcase like trannies at one point, and they didn't. So I was like, oh, okay, so you are keeping it in your montage explanation of Barbie, you're keeping it all females biologically. So I was like, interesting. But you did include tranny Barbie in the mix. I was fine with it. How they use. I was expecting, given the outright kind of political commentary of this film, I was expecting them to like include some sort of gender non-specific rhetoric, and they didn't. So I was surprised by that.
I gotcha.
Yep.
In this world, they're trying to show that it's a man-ruled world and that women do not appear anywhere. And it's like there are industries that are majority represented by women. Okay, there's and of course there's industries that are majority represented by men, but they're showing like billboards and stuff.
I know none of the advertisements featured women at all, which
it's insane.
Is mind-blowing because you know you almost can't walk past a billboard without there being a woman in it.
This world is a parody, but it's actually trying to say this is the real world. Men dominate and rule, and this is patriarchy is keeping women down, and men know about it, and they're happy and all about it, and they want to keep it in force and all this stuff. I did find one thing interesting, just backtracking a little bit, about the motivation Barbie has to leave. The thing where she didn't want to leave. Until she found out if she doesn't leave, she'll get cellulose.
Cellulite.
Cellulite, sorry. And it's to maintain her beauty is the motivation for her leaving. Beauty and youth. There might be some dishonesty there, rarely in this film. But I think Barbie could have had a more genuine motivation.
Well, she was trying to motivate her that it would be the end of, Barbie.
Motivation, whatever,
Yeah, she has this like insight, for lack of a better term, of like, do y'all ever think of death? And everyone's like, huh? It's just like a record scratch moment, and like the whole party just abruptly stops. And she's like, I'm just dying to party, and like trying to like get out of it, and everyone's like, back to normal, haha, party. And but she like sleeps uneasily with her thoughts, and then she wakes up and her whole routine is out of whack. She like instead of like gracefully landing by walking off of her platform to the first floor, she like falls, and everyone's like, are you okay, Barbie? Yeah, I'm cool. And then she starts walking flat-footed, and it freaks everybody out. And so that's why she talks to weird Barbie, who for some reason knows about the rift, because she's a Barbie that's been like tortured and overused. Her legs are fucked up, her hair's all chopped up and burnt and stuff, and the girls put makeup on her horribly as little girls, and so she's just like a freak Barbie. There's a funny gag when she's like explaining Barbie in the Barbie world and how she has to like fix this rift, and she like puts like a fucking globe in front of her face, and then she abruptly like pulls it away, and Margot's like, ah, and she's like, oh, sorry. And she's like, I kind of set myself up for that one. And it's like, that was funny, because she's supposed to be like the freak Barbie. So the jump scare is not really, you're scared the audience, but it's like, yeah, oh fuck, sorry, yeah, you're a freak. Like, that was good. That was well delivered, in my opinion.
Cool. Yeah, and I think Kate McKinnon is actually, some of the roles I find her in are kind of cringe, but I think she worked for this type of role, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought she was fine. Yeah, her motivation isn't just vanity, but it's like all these like typical women, like, oh no, cellulite on my leg. Fuck, I don't want that. So there is like a vanity angle, but it's not like unjustly vain. It's like, oh, I'm pretty, and oh no, I'm getting weird and normal woman. Like, but it's in her world that she's becoming, like, she's just plastic, eternally beautiful Barbie, and she's getting all these weird changes from the real world, and all these thoughts are kind of like projections from her owner, the mom, who's like 40.
What's interesting now that I looked at it, and I also like watching a Sleeping Beauty concept, where there's kind of a passing of the torch of Barbie. Now the next film, if they make a next film, she's not going to be Barbie anymore. Is going to be a new Barbie that's living in that world. She's like the outside Barbie. So like, because Kate McKinnon was the original Barbie, right? And then someone started messing with her, and then Margot Robbie was the new Barbie. So
yeah, that's unclear actually. It just seems like weird Barbie is just like, Margot Robbie is specifically Barbie for America, whatever her name is in the film. Her and her daughter used to play with her, but it seems like collectively all the Barbies in Barbie Land are just a collective existence of Barbies. That the little window you're seeing into the world is like just actually infinite, Yeah, but there is a tie to the real world.
But though the mom character, forget her name, she started doing all these drawings, and then she started labeling stereotypical Barbie, Margot Robbie's Barbie, as something different, like depressed Barbie, and started developing all these plans, and she was slowly becoming that. So I sure there's like some sort of concrete stuff. Maybe some Barbies can't change, but it seems like
every Barbie would go through this phase. When you see the example of the mom with Barbie.
Yeah.
Or that girls normally just outgrow Barbie, and so they just always stay blissfully unaware of their real world connection. And so they never actually have these thoughts projected into them, unless it's something like the mom.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
there is canceled Barbies too. Like they mentioned the cancel or the Barbie with the TV in her back and like the others. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's even with your mileage may vary with like the rhetoric in this film. There's a lot of funny setups and concepts that they put to screen, either just with like these live action people in some ways being plastic, where it's like, oh no, it's a real actor on screen, but they're playing as a plastic person, so they only move in a certain way, their feet don't bend because they walk on their toes, shit like that. They drive cars, but they're not really driving. She's like, "Hi, Barbie," and like one of the Barbies like flying a Barbie plane and saying hi to her because she's not actually flying it. They don't actually drive the cars they're driving in because they're just plastic. Shit like that was funny. Oh, there's also Michael Cera plays a friend of Ken that they made called Alan.
Oh yeah.
And he's essentially the beta male feminist that is part of the initiative to un-Ken world Barbie land. And it's like, yeah, see, this is the problem. Like, their accidental meta commentaries, like, yeah, the masculine world would be pretty good if you didn't have like two-faced backstabbing Allens in the world that are, friend-zoned simps.
Yeah, I don't like how Alan's like, I'm never getting out of here. They don't have any payout for Alan. I feel bad for him almost.
Fuck Alan. He's a backstabber to mankind in Barbie Land.
Yeah.
Ken Kind.
Yeah, Ken Kind. I want that sweatshirt. I'll support that.
Yeah, the Ken enough. I'm Kenuff.
Yeah. I support that.
Yeah, honestly, the best message, even though it's meant for the girls and for either for girls or for humankind in general, not really giving a plus to men specifically, but that like I'm Kenuff. It's that was a takeaway for the Kens, where it's like you're Kenuff, even though it's like not really, because you're just stuck being at best friend zone to your respective Barbies. But yeah, on accident, it was like, oh, that's nice. Like, man, just think how good it'd be for men if men got like a compliment here or there. But you know what? You're good enough. It's like, oh, thanks.
Yep.
Because it doesn't happen. It's like, well, you need to do more. You need be a man.
Yeah, we don't need to be told it. We just do stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why this movie's awesome, because it accidentally is like sympathetic to men's plight without even realizing they're being sympathetic to our plight.
Yeah.
It's like women's probably like, oh man, I'm going to not be pretty forever. Ugh.
Yeah, what a hardship. Oh no.
The kids are like, hey, we can all be bros and have beer brewskis. Oh, how did you like the John Cena mermaid cameo?
Oh, dude, I thought that was funny.
That was hilarious.
He's just such a big looking dude, and when you put that ball on, he just looked ridiculous, but I loved it.
Well, yeah, it's funny because when she comes back with her owner and daughter to Barbie Land and it's Ken World, the first thing you see, it's like she's starting to notice, like, oh, that's not, that's weird. And like the Mount Rushmore of Barbie heads is now horses, and they're like going through seeing how the world's changing. Like, I've never seen that before.
Did he change everything with magic? Like,
I don't know. Whatever.
He cast his spell to make Ken World now.
Right? Yeah, because like all the cars are Barbie, like 50s Corvettes.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's got like, because he sees all these gym bros get out of like this like weird new Hummer thing, and so then he's got like this Hummer in his driveway in the Ken house that is actually Barbie's house that he's changed to be Ken house, the Mojo Dojo Casa house.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that they have Ryan Gosling as the guy, but it sounds like the guy who played Johnny in Cobra Kai would have been kind of funny.
Yeah.
For the Ken role.
Yeah. Oh my god,
Ken role.
Dude, they should have older Ken. They have Johnny come in as older Ken. That'd be awesome.
Like, he sounds like he'd be perfect for this. Like, he's like serious with it. He's a little, I don't know. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, especially like season 1 Johnny. Yeah. Because he's like so inept and unaware, the Facebook, stuff like that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Who were those Kens? Like the older Kens? They had like Daddy Ken or something,
Oh, Sugar Daddy Ken. He's like, no, I'm not
Yeah.
Sugar Daddy Ken. I am I have a dog named Sugar and I'm her daddy.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, just dumb things like that were like, this is fun, like
What
the
about
sky's the
Boobs
limit.
McGee? The booby.
Right, yeah, they had apparently there was a Barbie that you could like grow her tits. This is apparently a real Barbie, and it's like, huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Was it supposed to be like a flotation device in the pool or in the bathtub?
No, it was just like, I guess like a, because the whole appeal of a Barbie is that she's an adult. So that's like, because like through life, whatever age you are, you want to be doing stuff that's older. Like
you typically don't want to play with a literal
you don't
as a kid. You never. I know that's why. Like as a kid, all the boy stuff. Power Rangers. They try to. Oh, here's a kid toy. No, we're fine with the adults. You don't need to make a kid. We're good.
Right. Yeah. The like common stupid comic trope of like, oh, here's Kid Flash and Superboy and Robin. It's like, no. We want to be Batman. We don't want to be fucking kid sidekick. That whole attempt at like appealing to the youth, the young kids. Like, no, you don't need that. You don't need a fucking second string knockoff. You don't want Kmart. You want fucking Walmart or Target. And that.
Yeah.
Well, you did want Target, but not now.
No. I still shop at Target because I don't want to see people at Walmart because they're trash.
Okay, gotcha.
I literally, if like, I go through a lot of hoodies because I work in a factory, so a hoodie, even though it's hot, I cut the sleeves off. It's like protection from material I work with from like cutting me. So I wear a hoodie all year, and so when I need a new hoodie, I go to the thrift shop. Like I go to Meijer, I go to Target. I go like Walmart is after I can't find shit at the thrift shops.
Do you go to, when you say thrift shop, I think of Goodwill,
like Goodwill
or
Ohio
something
Thrift,
first, like
Value
Village or something.
TJ
like,
Maxx.
Big Lots. I literally go everywhere else before I go to Walmart.
You go check a homeless man. You got a spare
literally, because Walmart is so trash with like the inhabitants, the workers, everything top to bottom. Walmart is trash.
There should be a Walmart movie and a Target, like a Walmart and Target movie in the same one, and it's like showing the difference of society. Like
do like Barbie,
like one of
Walmart.
Like they swap places or something, like a swap of like a Target person and a Walmart person, and it's like, what? This whole new universe? What?
No, it's like, wow, I work at Target and I'm actually like a person and I'm not miserable like
clean.
I'm at Walmart.
Things are clean. People that come here are a little bit better like dressed, and
it's not even just like, oh, it's like the stuff's a little more expensive, so that keeps a lot of trash out because it's like 50 cents or $1 more per item.
How dare you?
But it's like the workers. It's like you got stupid kids that just got out of high school that are your cashier. They're all like, there's a good energy at Target. This whole trans lettuce, bacon, tomato, alphabet soup controversy. It's like, I don't care. I don't care if I buy anything and it directly funds Planned Parenthood. I'd rather pay for that than be at Walmart if I can help it.
Yeah, like Meijer, I do notice like it's a little bit more high quality because there's no Targets in my area or Kmart's in the area. I do go to Walmart, but not like on the weekends. I go during the week, and there's obviously, we got two big super Walmarts, but they're on different sides of town. One is really nice, the other one's not so much. So I tend to go to the other one, and then Meijer, like if you want to get like really red meat or good meat like beef, I go there. And I do go to Dollar Tree, even though that can be skank sometimes, but they do have some good deals there as well. So,
yeah, Dollar Tree isn't worth it for me. Just if it's like what I would get there is like gift wrap or cheap craft stuff. It's like there's a Hobby Lobby 2 doors down from Target.
Like you can still pay a few extra dollars for better quality versions.
Yeah, it's like
that's true.
Have it on anyway. Yeah, the last time I went to a Dollar Tree was like getting stuff for nieces and nephews, and I'm kind of like, I could have just bought them like 1 or 2 good toys instead of getting them just like crap. It's like crap. That's just not gonna.
Well, also it's like they really trick you. The whole like Dollar Tree is for poor people because poor people are stupid. You know the whole thing about
they'll end up spending like $50 there.
If you give poor people money,
they'll spend it.
They'll blow it. It's something they'll blow it.
Well, that's what I mean when I said it.
And I noticed that very early on as an adult. I went to like Dollar Tree. I'm like, oh, this is $1. Cool, it's cheap. And then I'm like, wait. This can is $1 versus at Kroger it's like 69
you'll
cents
buy all this
for
useless crap that you don't want or need, and then it's like,
or you'll overpay because they've tricked you with it's $1.
But you end up spending $80 and you're like, I didn't even need to spend $5 here. Why did I do that? Oh no, now I have all this junk I need to get rid of now. Oh no.
Yeah, they trick you with the dollar angle.
Yeah, now it's $1.25 now.
Mass quantity. I'm getting a deal. It's $1. It's like it's cheaper at Walmart. What
now they're nearly $1 Tree.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even talking about the inflated. Oh, they added a quarter, 50 cents.
Yeah, that's how I was counting Tim said that.
There's a lot of, especially the food stuff. It's like, you would actually save money if you went to the normal store.
No, like certain things like energy drinks and like vitamins, like as far as like I'm a caffeine junkie, whatever I get throughout my day, blah blah blah. But like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I've caught myself like trying to like, I only plan on buying this, but I make lists. Like I think it's really important to make a list before you go to a grocery store and stick to it.
I wing it every time.
Bring the amount of money you expect to spend with you in cash, so that it's like
it's
the money.
Planned.
That's your limit. That's your budget. So
just put on credit. What whatever.
I don't do that.
No. I know I had like finance counseling when I was in the Army, and that was one of the strategies they told you like to save money is like just get cash and put it in your envelope for shopping. Yeah. And then like, I only have this much. Well, I better put those Oreos back.
You can pay yourself back at best, like, okay, this time I need this, but that means I can't have that. So you take one away from the other, or but then you got to pay it back though. You can't that's not just free money there.
And then also the credit
that's yourself.
Treat it. Yeah, you treat it as a debit. So if I buy something on there like once a month, which I usually do to like keep building my credit, I pay it off like instantly after, a couple of days later, just to keep it going. I'm like, oh yeah, I have a credit card.
Yeah, I have a balance on one card, but like, it's like I'm always over like. Even though I got a balance, it's like I'm still not getting any interest because I'm always overpaying on the minimum. So like the way it like adds up month to month, it's like, oh, he's still net zero. So, and it's on one card because I get cash back. So it's like, it's working out. I'm pretty good. I've built my credit at like 180 points the last 2 years. So I'm not being dumb.
That's cool.
But I run in with the credit card as a debit because of the cash back. So, and then once I buy something, I just pay it the next day once it populates to pay it.
Yeah. Did you see Oppenheimer, Tim?
No, I didn't. But I've heard about everything, so I'll listen to it. But I'm seeing it tomorrow night, like in the evening. So
yeah, dude. Okay, here's the thing. I wanted to see Oppenheimer first. But with doing the stream, even if it's an hour back from normal, I plan it where it's like, all right, I'm still going to stream afterwards, and I'm going to push it back like 3-4 hours. It's got to be fairly quick
because that movie's 3 hours long, bro.
Yeah, it's like, literally it's 3 hours
plus the 25 minutes of freaking trailers.
No. That's the trick. All right, whatever your showtime is, you actually go in like 10 minutes after that. So maybe you see like one trailer and then you kick, boom, movie. That's how I do it every time. I'm like, oh, it's 350 showing. I'll get my seat at 405.
Yeah, trailers are kind of devalued now with YouTube and stuff. It's like we see them.
Well, it's not even the YouTube. It's the fact that we are movie nerds, and so we're already instantly we know about it.
Yeah, we'll see it before we see it in theaters. The trailer. So
yeah. Like we're in tune. So I don't watch trailers.
Yeah, I went directly after work. I get off around 3:30ish, but I need time to chill and eat before, and like I don't want to drive back home, so I go there, sit in the parking lot. But like the movie started at 4:10, so it worked out pretty good because I was about like even from the spot, it's about 10 minutes away.
What were the trailers you saw?
What was the trailers? Let me think. Well, I was staring at my phone and texting someone most of the time. But no, I saw Oppenheimer trailer again, and then what else did they show?
Was there a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one or whatever?
Yeah, with the race swapped.
No, it's not just that she's race swapped; it's that she's fucking ugly.
Like an ugly fat one that isn't like an attractive little.
It's like at least a Little Mermaid,
or at least a non-ugly one. Like just
at least a Little Mermaid.
The color purple too, and
oh my god, why would you remake that?
I know, that's what I thought. That's why I was like, dude,
I've never seen it, but I know about it, and it's like that just feels grimy. That
Oprah
you would remake
Winfrey's endorsing it too. She's like one of the
because she gets money for it. That's why she's a fucking money whore.
Yeah, whore. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, Angus saw Oppenheimer. I did not.
Oh, you saw it?
I full bore participated in Barbenheimer. As soon as I kind of started hearing about the Barbenheimer thing, or like, no, it wasn't even that I knew about the like Barbenheimer craze. It was just knowing that they were both coming out the same day. It's like, oh wow, Margot Robbie being hot Barbie, and then a Chris Nolan movie. Well, I'm going to have a double feature that day, and then I became aware of Barbenheimer. And so it just further fueled seeing both on the same day.
They could have done a cool team up with the studios. Like, okay, those are going to come out on the same day.
They kind of had. They kind of let the fans do it.
But I mean, like, if it was like at the theaters, like the studios agree to split the difference or whatever, and with the theater, like that if you buy tickets for both movies, you get Barbenheimer merch. Or something like a combo of both, like with the hat.
I plan to get a Barbenheimer
one side's
shirt.
pink, one side's I don't know, black or a nuke or
Bomb.
something. Like it's like I don't know. I think you can make some creative stuff for merch with Barbenheimer, and like that would have been like a cool combo. And then it's like you get all these chicks in pink going to see Oppenheimer next or something. It's like wait, what?
Well, Rook, interesting that you said that. To piggyback off that, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did that with the marketing of Barbie. They were looking up in their like Periscope and saw all of these Barbie-esque characters. Did you see that? At the screening? Did any of you guys see that? They had like a little commercial advertising Barbie, but it was also advertising the Ninja Turtles.
Well, that's weird because Oppenheimer is like the first film in like 20 years that Nolan hasn't worked with Warner Brothers. This is a Universal film, and Barbie is Warner Brothers, and they slotted the same day. So there's like this because of like Tenet and HBO Max and their like day and date release streaming plan they did during the infection from an Asiatic area. That really jaded Chris Nolan. And so he took his Syncope production company and has Universal distributing his film now. And so I think they're probably trying to win him back at Warner Bros., but it seems the relationship soured. And so that is apparently kind of, when I was reading in the wiki page, it's some of the angle of Barbenheimer is like a rivalry, but also a boost, because it's like Nolan is historically Warner Brothers, but then he's like going against a Warner Brothers release. And they're two totally different kinds of films.
Yeah.
But so did Chris Nolan actually denote nuclear explosives during the filming of Oppenheimer, or detonate? Can Greta Gerwig coax Kenergy out of Ryan Gosling? Should you watch Barbie and then Oppenheimer, or Oppenheimer and then Barbie? And most importantly, what does the buzz around these movies tell us about the state of Hollywood? For the answers to these questions, more check out The Ringer's ongoing coverage of two of the most highly anticipated releases of the year. Okay, so here's like a plot point. 10 updates. I guess these are articles. The greatest opening weekend double feature ever with Barbenheimer plus. This is just really just linking to other fucking
articles. Let me see. I was going to show imagery of Barbenheimer because there's like merch. No, that goes to a different link. Hold on. There we go. Zoomy in. This is like one of the big ones, that poster. It's on my thumbnail. I like this one. Let's see if I can scroll. There we go. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's a cool shirt.
That's cool. Yeah, like imagine if you had that at the theater, or like you got one for free or 50% off if you bought the tickets or something. Like, it'd be kind of cool. More incentive for people to see both films and and buy merchandise.
Barbie's the chemistry set.
Oh, gosh.
I love
would have
it.
been so more meta if they would have had like Oppenheimer like appear in Barbie for a brief second, just passing
or
like, an envelope
at least, yeah, if they had a trailer for their own films with a nod to the other film or something.
Oh yeah, because they kind of did that, didn't they? Like, well, we were talking about The Godfather, right? So they could have kind of done that with Oppenheimer, I guess. So.
Possibly.
He's in the back seat instead of Ken. I think some of the actors have like.
I thought there was an explosion in the back. Like that would have been kind of funny. She's like, "La di da," the nuke in the back. And it's like, oh, that's.
Let me see this one. All right, let me go to it. Share it. Present.
So the Barbie did cost a lot more money than Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer cost $100 million.
See, look at this. Wait. See, we're talking about women's imagery. That's Ashley Graham. She was like the plus size model on Sports Illustrated swimsuit. It's like she's looking good still, and she's a chunky girl, and we're like, yes, yummy.
Yummy.
She's not really fit. She's just an average body, but it's like, fuck, look at that. Look at that on the side. See that? Look at those big breastises. Cute. I'm assuming Latina face. Nice jawline.
They're not objects to be oogled at, Angus.
We don't need Margot Robbie to be happy. Like we men love a spectrum of beauty.
Yes.
All right, Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig take on Tom Cruise's Barbenheimer challenge. Mission accepted. Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig have not only joined in on the viral Barbenheimer trend, but they have accepted Tom Cruise's mission in taking it 2 steps further. Barbenheimer is a new term popularized by eager fans who are preparing to see Barbie and Oppenheimer back-to-back in cinemas. That's me. Although, why stop at just 2? On Friday, Barbie director Gerwig and lead actor Robbie added Indiana Jones and the Dial and Mission Impossible to their list, copying Cruise, who had done the same days earlier. In photographs shared on Twitter, Gerwig and Robbie stood proudly in front of each other's film posters, holding out their movie tickets. The duo's support comes in response to Cruise, who on Wednesday that day tweeted photos of himself standing with 3 movie tickets to Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, Nolan's war drama, and Gerwig's Barbie.
So you start with Dial of Destiny, so you can get the depression out after that. You can have something else that's better afterwards.
Oh, what a fucking dude! Okay,
emotional damage.
So, like, I'm not an indie diehard. I seen him once before recently with Rookie. We're watching the trilogy right now. We're about to watch Last Crusade soon. But I liked him the first time. Like, these are really fucking good. And then I'm rewatching with Rookie, who was like, Indiana Jones, meh, it's boring, whatever. And now we're watching, I'm like, fuck, this is so good. And then I'm like knowing about Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, where it's like, all right, they kill Mutt, and that seems very vindictive. Of like, screw George Lucas and his wants. And it's like, all right, whatever, you kill him off because Shia LaBeouf is, drama.
They still could have had a different actor play as the son,
or they could have just like, oh, he's out over there in a pasture.
He got damaged in the war. His face is a little different now. Look at him.
Well, that, or they could just say, oh, Mutt, yeah, him and his dad had a falling out.
You don't have to, or no, his son is doing well, but he's on the other side of the country doing other things. He's prospering. You don't need to kill off the character or make him miserable or a fight.
Yeah,
He can just be, oh, he's grown up. He doesn't want to be attached to the to the parents. You know, he's gonna go on his own. I'm proud of him. Cool.
That's why I say it's vindictive to have killed Mutt. But then, you know, rewatching Temple of Doom and seeing, like, you know, his involvement with Short Round kind of saved him from the cult.
Short Round had a lot more character than I remember him when I first saw
and I'm watching. I'm like, wait, do they have Short Round in the number 5 as like a send off? Nope. I'm like, what? You get rid of Mutt and you don't include Short Round?
No, and they replaced the Short Round with somebody else apparently.
And I'm like, what? I'm not even a diehard. Like this, you know, all the franchises in the world. I'm like, Indiana Jones is pretty low for me, for my investment. But I'm like, even me, I'm like outraged. I can't imagine people that like their whole life is Indiana Jones. Like that's their trilogy. That's their.
When it's like the kid's alive, he's probably perfect age for like being a star of his own little action movie.
Yeah, he was. Like, I think he won supporting actor Oscar in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Like he could be a kung fu guy, and we just never recognize him because he looks like other Asians. Like for all we know, like it could have been.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, Cruz said, I love a double feature. It doesn't get more explosive or more pink than one with Oppenheimer and Barbie. Cruz is known for passionately promoting the cinema industry. Earlier this year, Steven Spielberg was film telling the actor he'd save Hollywood's ass thanks to his $1.5 billion grossing Top Gun revival Maverick. Trash.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, at least Tom Cruise, that somebody who wants to save film, is like going to see other films as well, not just his own. They're like pumping his own. Just I don't know if other actors really go and see other movies. Really, like, I don't know what.
Yeah, I hear a lot about they don't even see their own films, and I'm like, how do you not go see your work? You know what I mean?
Because it's just a job. They already know it. They're like, yeah, I saw the clips, whatever.
But it's like, that is a different experience, though.
John Williams has never watched Star Wars. Like, he made the iconic music. He's never actually watched Star Wars. Like, proper.
What?
Exactly.
I don't understand
because
that.
I'd say that's two different experiences, like hearing it and then seeing it with the audio.
Right. It's like, yeah, you watch like
clips
clips and make the music, but actually, like in context, seeing the whole thing put together. How would you not watch how your score is used? So I just learned this because I watched Hateful Eight and we're watching it with Rookie for the first time, and we're watching the extended version, so it's episodic on Netflix, which is weird. And I'm listening to all these essays and stuff about Hateful Eight, and apparently the composer, who's famous for not just the Once Upon a Time in the West and the Dollar trilogy of Clint Eastwood back in Italy, in Spain. It's filmed in Spain, but it's an Italian movie. But he did the soundtrack to The Thing, but John Carpenter only used like one track from his whole composition. And so there's a bunch of unused music film-wise from that score. And so Tarantino had danced around the idea of getting this guy as his composer. He just makes like soundtracks of different music, but he hooked him, having let him read the screenplay. So he's like, yeah, I can do like a theme for a movie, and then you can use like the Thing soundtrack. But then like once he started doing the theme, he's like, okay, I got an idea. I got some ideas here. And so, yeah, just hearing that insight about making the music for how Hateful Eight from that composer, and then I hear John Williams like, yeah, I never watched Star Wars. I'm like, what? You're a very important cog of those films. Like without his music, they might have done like a fucking disco rock music for the film.
Yeah, I would love to see the notes for him to write that and that music and like for the scene, because as like an actor, like, I'm not like Oscar where they've done some acting, but like it's just like you want to see your work to get better, right? Obviously, like you do multiple takes, but it's just like, okay, maybe I could have done that scene a little bit better next time, or I watched this whole film completely edited and I look at it like as like this point where I want to get better. It's like, okay, maybe I could have, like as an editor, if I was the editor, maybe I could have paced this well, right?
Or if you're like Jared Leto, apparently there's a whole bunch left on the table of the Ayer cut.
I do want to see that, though. I do want to see that. Not the Batwoman cut. No, I am curious about the Batwoman cut, but like...
Well-
the Erica I would like to see.
Well, it makes me wonder if they would swap out any like takes that they chose for the movie and choose different ones that they had, like instead of just keeping all the ones that they had and then adding more. If they took away some that they had in the film and replaced
And
them
that's
with other
also-
ones or something, like that could be, because that's something I realized too. I mean, I filmed things like for my projects where I just don't even use them anymore, but I don't even count it as like I'm doing a take for a line, but I'm saying it differently or different wording or something, and that alone is a huge difference, the wording and like how that sounds as well and whatever. And if you're doing something with the camera, and then if like want to add something with music or with sound, ambience, whatever, all these things affect just one shot essentially.
They do, like, and like I was doing TikToks and stuff and other stuff. Like, also the fact that like when we're talking about the Barbie movie, I actually felt like there was like, sure, the movie was a nice runtime, 2 hours, but I still felt like maybe the last part kind of drug, and there was other parts that drug. But there were other parts, like we're talking about the Ken parts. I felt like they took out some of the footage, and I feel like if they would have plugged it back in, some other scenes, I would be like, okay, I really buy this part, and I even enjoy it more. I don't know anything. It felt like the Barbie movie was like chopped up, and like the editing was a little bit choppy, or just like it made you assume too much. But then again, there needs to be a suspension of disbelief. But that's just kind of how I felt with the Barbie movie. And obviously, like from like an independent creator, like we all are, blah blah blah. It's a tedious thing. We're learning and we're trying to get better, and there's always something we can do better, right? Looking back at it.
Yeah. Oh, it reminds me of in Return of the King, Christopher Lee, right? Like he was imagine filming something for like a franchise and the ending of your character, and then they're just like, no, we're gonna cut that. Like for the theatrical version, and it's like, like it's funny because like ever since I saw the extended cut, which was like just a couple of years ago, the extended versions, I did not see them before. I'm like, I can never watch the original versions again where there's stuff missing that adds so much that I didn't realize was taken away. But like,
it doesn't feel like
now that I know that if I were to watch the theatrical, I'm like, it's missing things. It's a lesser quality trilogy now without those things. Now that I know that they exist.
For me, it's The Watchmen. And Lord of the Rings, obviously there's some things, but The Watchmen as well. I'm kind of a defender on a lot of the Watchmen stuff.
Oh, Watchmen is ahead of its time.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yep.
It's funny. I just watched. I think I was watching. I was watching I gotta send you a link, Ricky. But I was watching this Snyder cut, BVS video.
By the way, Angus, they may have found the Snyder cut stuff in Barbie, so I was triggered. I'm not
they made something. Yeah, they made some.
Yeah, I'm not a cultist.
They said some jab at the Snyder cut where it's like, oh, you mean like when I was into like the Snyder cut, and then I like came to reality. So it's something to that effect, and I'm like,
I liked it.
Your own company's crapping on. Because the Snyder cut is Warner Brothers.
Snyder, the dark film got dissed by Barbie. That's great.
That's hilarious. I love it. Oh, dude,
that needs to be like a battle. Snyder.
I hope the Snyder tards fucking cry on Twitter, so then more people are like, "Oh, I gotta check that out," and it ends up boosting the box office.
Barbie. Boycott Barbie.
Yeah, it's like, good luck with that. Boycott hot fucking Margot Robbie for 2 hours. Idiots. Fuck the Snyder cut weirdos, because they tried to crash Godzilla Kong, which wasn't good compared to Godzilla King of the Monsters or Godzilla, but like it's weird because it came out a week before the Snyder cut, so it's like, why wouldn't you promote that so then people are tuning into the fucking if you boost Godzilla Kong on streaming on HBO Max, then people are gonna, possibly Normie's gonna be aware of like, oh, there's a new big thing release this week. Oh, let's check that out. Maybe they won't stick around for the whole fucking 4 hours, but they'll be like, oh, that would boost your watch time. What little we can find of stats, Wonder Woman 84 beat the Snyder cut in watch time.
So suck that, Snyder tards.
I will say that BVS, the extended version, is not as bad as Man of Steel.
I agree. Well, I like Man of Steel. Never mind. I was gonna say, you tricked me, but the extended
Man of
cut is
Steel's a
better.
weird one because it's
The
like there's a
extended
lot of
cut was
good,
better
but
than the original one.
it's like, oh man, why did you do this? But no, BVS is still the weird thing about BVS Ultimate Cut, because I've always said the Ultimate Cut removes a lot of plot holes. It is better. It's it's like it's not stuff like a lot like Hateful Eight extended version. Having just watched Hateful Eight and then I'm watching extended version for the first time with Rookie through the episodes on Netflix, and it's like, the things that are extra in here is like, the normal cut of Hateful Eight is just fine. The extended doesn't so far seem to really bolster the film. This is a better cut, but the Ultimate Cut adds so much more context for what were plot holes for the theatrical. But on rewatch, being a few years removed from having seen it, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, we stopped for and talked for an hour after the opening credits of the Batman and the illusion and stuff, and why would you film that way and this and that. There's so much to talk about with just superhero concept with Batman or Superman, the pros and cons of what he did with those characters. And Lex Luthor, there's all these things.
It took its time a lot more than Man of Steel did. I felt like it was trying to be a film rather than a huge action brawling poopy powy pooey pee poo, and
but then it does the fucking.
But then it kind of gets, but
Doomsday.
it becomes that later.
And it's oh my gosh, fucking Doomsday. It just keeps going on. And,
I'm a defender of Man of Steel. I won't harp on it too long, but I do love the film. It is a different take on Superman, which people have been asking for. But and I know the quintessential people want the Christopher Reeves. You want I'm goofy Superman and let's get Lois Lane. I understand that. What kind of makes him relatable, trying to be human. And I'm a defender of the Brandon Routh stuff too. It's just he played the part good, but the script wasn't written super well, and he was just always picking up things. Now, in the Man of Steel he was essentially Superman for 48 hours. And then they were going to get into those things. Their big mistake to me was not releasing a Man of Steel 2 after 10 years. Come on, to pick that back up. People like Henry Cavill as Superman. I don't agree with Amy Adams as Lois Lane. I think she was kind of too old and whatever. I love ginger representation, I think the Hans Zimmer score is good. But Michael Shannon was great as Zod. But in the next film, give the audience or the older school people kind of what they want. Reel it back and bring in what we've seen before.
Well, right? I mean, my things are I don't have any attachment to Superman. I've never read a Superman comic book. I've only seen I've only seen some of the Justice League version, the animated of Superman. I've not seen any other Superman film, so I don't have any prior wantings of Superman. Enough. So my gripes are more with what they show, and I could compare to something like the Avengers, even more in how they do a battle, how they divide what's going on, or how they show people's reactions to something happening, and there's not as much connection in Man of Steel, and it's just punching, and I have no idea what does a punch even damage the other person, because they're totally fine and they get launched across the city, and it's so lame to me. As to where you compare that to even Iron Man versus the Hulk, you can tell battle damage going on, you can tell what's wearing down, what you can tell he's trying very much to get the battle away from people actively while he's getting punched by the Hulk. As to
doesn't he say something about buying the building?
It doesn't seem like he's trying to, or does it seem he's
because he's
really
not
at all
experienced. He's not
no. It doesn't matter if he's experienced. My point is he could try and fail. And he doesn't seem to reflect on how many lives were lost or anything. It's just he's just well, whatever, that happened. Okay.
Yeah, it's never a weight on his conscience of all the chaos that directly justifies Batman's resolve to kill this guy.
Yeah, which in the next film they acknowledge that. I think that's
no. They acknowledge it from Batman, and from like the
yeah, we're
the
talking about like the
US,
character of Superman to acknowledge
Superman
this.
has no like, man, I really could fuck, why didn't I handle that different? Like,
yeah, that would have been
killing Zod is makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
they do acknowledge that point, but I understand what you're saying is maybe in the next film, like the repercussions, because they killed thousands of people and destroyed the city. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't really feel that way in BVS either. He doesn't really ever seem to feel the weight of like what he does. They try to make him brood, but it doesn't seem to be for the reasons of what like of citizens being in the line of
in Man
of
of Steel.
Like in Man,
let me roll
Man
it back. Let me roll it back. Just in Man of Steel, you know, you have the tragedy of like the only other Kryptonian was your direct counter that you had to kill. You've killed Krypton by killing Zod. All right, and there's like a huge metaphysical dilemma there for Cal. You know, he's just recently, the last few years, come to terms with like him being an alien. His parents aren't his parents, actually, finding out about Krypton and Jor-El's consciousness computer thing in the ship, and his making sense of his powers at all.
Which I love the Krypton scenes, by the way.
Yeah, the Krypton. There's too much action crap in Krypton, but there's a lot of cool stuff in Krypton as well.
Yeah.
The whole like Jor-El and fucking Zod, good stuff.
I would have preferred the Krypton stuff with almost no action. Honestly, it felt so.
It felt like
bloated.
a lot of noise.
It felt so bloated, and I was so bored. Like that's so long.
Yeah, but my point is, with the whole like feeling culpable at all or any remorse is within the film of Man of Steel by itself. We're not even talking about the rest of the DCU with those characters. You know, you have the tragedy of like he had to kill Zod, which makes sense given the fight. They just keep punching each other, nothing's happening. They can each laser each other. It's just going to cause collateral damage that Cal doesn't want. So you see, like, Zod doesn't care because he's trying to kill all these people to make Krypton anew, which is fine. For motivation and stuff, it makes total sense. Their conflict, the whole base of it. But then after he kills him and thus kills Krypton and accepts his earthbound identity, that's what he protects. Krypton had his chance, even says that. Afterwards, there's no like, oh man, all the damage in part because of me, and how can I make it right? It's just the movie ends with yeah, here's a fucking millions of dollars paid by taxpayers drone thrown at a general's feet, and he's like, well, yeah, I did Metropolis damage that's within my power, and you're just gonna have to trust me. And aw shucks, I'm Superman.
And he says he grew up in Kansas, but there's not enough really. He doesn't seem. We don't see much of that really. Like
there's
Kansas lifestyle. Like so. In BVS, they keep on bouncing
or do we? In the fact in that BVS and like the other films, he's reluctant to die, and Lois knows what.
No.
I'm talking
about in Man of Steel,
him being a country boy,
like being
okay. Yeah.
Not much there. They don't show him doing much that shows us. Like, yeah, you know, he likes people. Even he seems
cares
to be kind
about
of
Smallville.
Seems to kind of be, you know, like I don't know. He's just like, I'm going to destroy this guy's truck. You know, I guess he makes friends. He makes friends with Big Splash. Like, well, I don't know. That's a huge overreaction, and that's like another thing where he never has any like, oh, I shouldn't have done that type of moments ever. He's just like, yeah, I'm pretty confident that I'm an asshole. Kind of.
But people make mistakes, though. It's just like, you know.
No, but people also recognize their mistakes. He doesn't seem to do that.
He has no recognition or remorse. There's nothing that shows any kind of weight or responsibility for his actions or the damage that he is. It's not his fault that this calamity has come to Smallville. But there's no sense of like, oh, let me help rebuild Smallville because I'm a Superman. It's no problem for me to lift a fucking train that's been derailed from my fight. You know, she's like, well, that's humans' problems. I'm just Clark Kent when it suits me.
The thing is,
in
it's just like,
in BVS, in the ultimate cut, they make all these things of like, oh, so Kansas. They make Dorothy references with Kansas. You're not in Smallville anymore. All these kind of things of like, oh man, that stupid fucking Clark Kent from Kansas, a stupid country boy. The people say it, but you never see it in the film that like that actually informs his perspective and his interacting in the world. He's just you would assume he's a natural born metropolis guy, and there's no distinction for him from the other people culturally that warrants the negs by Perry White. Where it's like that's a big problem I see is like things like that where it's like, all right, this is implicit to the Superman character, and they like do lip service, but there's no actual showing of it of Clark being that person. And
the scene described in BVS with this like the ghost of his dad or something, whenever that was, like when he's talking about saving the horses, like why couldn't we have seen that scene or something? Like there's something like that, something akin to that, where like you save something, but then there's something else that kind of
collateral cost.
There's a collateral cause to your saving something. That point, would be better reinforced to the bus children thing, which seems like a weird
Clark
thing.
Kent
It's
work.
like that's weird. Yeah,
I get it. Then that was my point, because like he was like, the passage of time was really quick. Like it's only Superman for 48 hours, and people want this fresh take, and they like people are even complaining about him not wearing underwear. I'm like, bro, like the underwear looks stupid. It worked for that time period, but I
don't care if he has a Superman suit at all in the film. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not coming at it from any of those.
So yeah, like in Man of Steel, I mean, like I see what you're saying. Obviously, I won some of that too, because that's essentially his part. Like the same thing when you talk about Bruce Wayne and Batman. Those are two different type of characters, complexity of personalities, but they're both essential to make one character. Same with Superman, right? We have to have a Clark Kent, we have to have Superman, and then they kind of meet in the middle somewhat and make that character. So it just like, yeah, Man of Steel, the passage chime worked really quickly. Why I do like it is that like I felt like it was very raw. I don't agree with like the score was amazing, by the way, but the saturation, all that, I think it was a bit dark. But they were on that Nolan ride, right?
I was okay with the
Dark Knight
saturation.
and all that.
I was okay with that,
Yeah.
actually. That didn't bother me.
Yeah. No,
it's pretty thoroughly blue-gray film. It's just I plan to do a video where I put on loop the phrase of Jor-El where he's like, an ideal to strive for, and then show all the repeated fucking carnage. And it's like, woo! The idea is like, woohoo, Superman, yay! But all you see is fucking death and torment. Where it's like, in reality, everyone, oh my god, oh no, it's Superman! Oh god, oh we're all gonna die. Like,
Yeah.
I get the short time span of being Superman, but like he's had, like you assume, a decade of wandering, knowing his power set to some degree.
It's very biblical, right? Like because of Jesus walking the earth for like 32 to 33 years.
Yep.
It was very reminiscent of that, and like poetry.
Yeah, he only had like 3 years of
Star
being
Wars,
the Miracle Man.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to reminisce it kind of towards that, and that's what I wanted to bring up. I would like to see Man of Steel 2, and I agree with a lot of like what Rookie and Black Angus, and obviously I get a lot of people that disagree with me, and I hear it from the Snyder Cut fans, but like I'm not like a Snyder cultist. I can understand that fact. I do think, blanket statement, I do think the Snyderverse was a failure. It had a lot more potential. I do think DC, as far as storytelling and the comics and everything involved, the anime stuff and the games, is better than Marvel, but they have not captured it yet. Now, Marvel live action has been killing it. Not Phase 4 or the last phase, obviously, but like up to Endgame, those 22 films, I think for the most part, they were bangers and they did it right. Now, like these shows and everything else, man, it's a whole different story, and they're struggling. And cinema in general is struggling, like we've seen with like Indiana Jones, Little Mermaid, even Mission Impossible. Question, even although I liked it, Transformers is going to bomb. I mean, even Barbie, I think, is probably going to bomb, and Oppenheimer, even though I think this could be a good film. I mean, those budgets aren't as huge, so it's not like the budget was like $200 or $300 million with the marketing costs. I don't know. We can get, that's a whole nother conversation. But like, man, why are all these things, like even like The Mandalorian season 3 was way down as far as like the Nielsen numbers? That's a whole nother conversation. That's another door, but I'll roll it back in.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went everywhere.
You're good.
Because it's current cinema and TV shows today. Like, that's why I stopped covering things like this Barbie movie. I'm really trying to like, should I really cover this? Cover the box office, because it's very depressing. And you know, I want to be a realist. I want to be a reviewer, but I want to enjoy stuff I talk about. That's why I did Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball universe last weekend. And you know, I'm like, maybe I should start watching more anime and covering
maybe.
So, you know what I mean? So, or to start creating my own content again, which I do enjoy the process. And I know Rook and Angus, we discussed that earlier on like filmmaking, editing, and all that. So it's a very depressing time. Darn it, it's a very depressing time. Oh man. Pray for me. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, the other thing I noticed, so like me and Ricky are in agreement that like in various ways, like there's things I like more in Helm about the Ultimate Cut, but it's like there's so much interesting stuff in the BVS story, regardless if it's the Ultimate or regular. But it's just the whole movie feels like it's not solid. Like there's a lot of interesting threads of varying degrees, but it doesn't add
like
up.
There's little islands of that part is sort of neat. There's something on that island that is good, but then there's this island over here, and we cut to over here, and we're over here, and then when it all comes together, it's kind of like there were things that we liked and that were done well, but this doesn't feel like
it's like I get the plot,
like,
it's adding up, but like putting it all together in a film doesn't add up for like a concise experience. I just
we kind of felt like if this was like a 10-episode TV show, like with BBS, to spread it out enough, like I think that would have been good, because there's a lot of concepts in it, a lot of things in it that are really interesting. But then it's just like, oh, but then we go over here, and then now we're done here, and then we're going over here, and it's like, oh man, that would have been
for
nice
one,
to see
Wonder Woman
like,
and the Justice League tease of the other metahumans, cringe. What useless. Besides, like if you would have just kept her as like nameless hot girl that like foiled his plans, and maybe just kept it as like Diana. Like if you just kept maybe the whole Diana stuff, it could work, but not bring in the Wonder Woman action crap. Because it's like watching it and being like paying attention this whole time. I'm like, wait a minute, this is fucking stupid. Like, why this whole setup of the Doomsday self-assured destruction death of Superman storyline that they are, like, I guess because they want to, they're obligated to kill Superman in this film. Well, it's like, it's stupid because Wonder Woman cut the fucking arm off of Doomsday, so why couldn't she cut his head off?
That's true.
And so it's like literally by what you showed me, it's pointless drama that you've ginned up, that you undo the next chronologically the next movie, you know, in Justice League. It was like, you know, the comic, as far as I know, the Death Superman lasted for like 12 issues, I think, of like Superman's dead. And you got to sit with it for like a year in the Superman comic. Like, that's pretty ballsy. Like, hey, buy Superman. The guy's dead, but read the comic. You know,
the
it's like,
issue
wow.
is they rush towards it. Like, something like that takes build up. Like, Infinity War. I'm like, let me push back on this a little bit. But, like, sure, like, you can have standalones like the Batman. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing ever, but I did enjoy it overall. Then we have the Michael Keaton stuff. You can have spin-off stuffs, of course. But then also the fact that let's develop characters. If you're going to do like a main universe type stuff, I feel like now the bar has been set by Marvel. Like, you have to develop these characters to make us feel, especially if you're going to go to iconic stories like the death of Superman. And then also the fact that if we're going to talk about the other stuff, it's just like you can have build up, but you can have like one-offs, like the iconic Joker story, right? And so, the Dark Knight didn't need a multifaceted universe. It was just like its own children, one and done. I think DC can still do that. I think Marvel can still do that. But then you can have your connected universe, right? And build that where people like care about the other characters like the Flash, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman. Even like, this is the thing. That's what, like, the DCEU casted unconventional actors that didn't really look like the characters. Wonder Woman in the comics, like Gal Gadot, like, I don't think she did a bad part in it, but it was heavily followed. Chris Pine carried her movies. But what I'm saying is that she doesn't look traditionally like Linda Carter. She doesn't look like the traditional character. Even Aquaman, Jason Momoa, he's charismatic. Women think he's hot. Blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't look like the blonde-haired guy, blah, blah. So it's going to draw you off a little bit. But once you see it, people are like, okay, well, this was actually pretty good.
This is your dad's Aquaman.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like, yeah, when they like race swapped certain characters, like, okay, well, when I actually see it, I'll make a judgment, but then it does throw me off because, like, if they like replace like Mario and make him look like Asian, I'm like, Mario's not Asian, he's Italian. So like, it does take you out a bit, but like once you actually see it, and if it's good, it's like, okay, I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Heimdall.
So that's usually a thing. We just kind of want good films.
Yeah, Heimdall's race
at
swap,
the end of the day, we want good films, but the race swap is just like, what is their intent on that, right? It draws people off, especially in the marketing, right? But like once we act, like if you give it a chance, blah blah blah. I know it's a very like progressive kind of take there, but like if you see it, it's like, okay, that works. I like Jason Momoa's Aquaman, Aqua Bro. He's not Aquaman, he's Aqua Bro. Like, I just like his vibe. I would hang out with him. So,
well, it's like you shouldn't race swap, but there are instances that the fans were not mad, or at least the actual product after the fact you see, you're like, oh, that was pretty good. Like Tilda Swinton being the ancient one, it's supposed to be like an Asian guy. They made a white woman. It's like, she's really good in Doctor Strange. Ra's al Ghul is supposed to be like Asian, but it's Liam Neeson, so it's fucking great.
And you said Heimdall and Thor.
Yeah, Heimdall is like,
Norse,
it's
ginger.
Norse. That's white mythology, and you put a black guy as a key figure, and
but he goes kind of cool. So
it's fucking Idris Elba's Heimdall is like, I don't know who to replace him with. He's awesome because he's English, and so he has like a natural language aesthetic to work for this kind of Shakespearean Lord of the Rings world as an actor. So like he blends in. Nick Fury is a white guy, but they adapted the Ultimates Nick Fury, which I think Mark Millar or the artist, like, I always envisioned
Hasselhoff
Sam
was like the one in the 90s, right?
Yeah, it's like they always the guy wrote the Ultimates Nick Fury, explicitly cast in his head Sam Jackson when he wrote it and drew it. So they looked out and got him for the movies. So it worked out, and it's technically comics accurate for a different universe of Marvel. But even if you're like, this is Marvel, Nick Fury's black from now on, it's like, well, Sam Jackson's fucking awesome as Nick Fury. So no one's complaining when it's good. It's like people complain about Little Mermaid race swap. It's like, well, you didn't add anything of value to the race swap, and she doesn't stand out. She doesn't overtake the 89 Little Mermaid, so it was like pointless. It was just a plug.
Now they're seen as lesser compared to the better ones now.
Well, so the thing is there too. Also, like, she's a beautiful woman. She can sing, but like, based on the geographical location, doesn't make sense. But then they moved the goalpost and made it like Caribbean. So it could be diverse. But then they also like said, "Hold my beer. Let's make Eric an adopted kid to this like black queen and all this and stuff." So and like they went on like this diversity island place kind of. But
Diversity Island
sounds like a fucking reality show.
That's where they get
that's my issue there. That's my issue there. And then like the CGI was horrible, and it was super like it was so dark under there. It was like Zack Snyder mermaid. Like, why are you so dark? What Reynolds says in Deadpool, bro? Like, I was like, what are you trying to do here?
Actually,
and then like when I criticize this, people call me racist, and I'm like, bro.
Like, if
you're like, well, yeah, I am, but regardless, my criticism stands.
I was like, yeah, I am. Yeah, just kidding.
The dark aesthetic of Snyder's visuals, I think, can be good, can be utilized well. But I liked your joke there.
I'm like, I'm dark in a different way, or racist a different way. Just kidding.
But
I represent gingers, bro. I love gingers. I represent gingers. So
I do wish we'd see an influx of those. That'd be nice.
My fan casting, to be honest, was the chick from Riverdale. Like, she can sing and she's beautiful. I don't understand why she's not like a movie star. Like, Riverdale's not the best series, but this chick can actually act and she's beautiful. Like, I don't understand like why certain like CW people are like looked down upon. Like, I think Stephen Amell from Arrow, if you've watched that.
Yeah.
Season 1 and 2 were freaking amazing. That's what started the Flash universe, whatever, or the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why that guy's not being like cast in.
He's
like
not really a star. Well, I feel like he's not. I don't know how wide his acting range is. Really, he's only the few things I've seen him in. I don't know if they challenged him really. They just like have him as that guy that's around, sort of. It's kinda,
Well,
I'm like, needs to not be the case.
The only big film he got offered was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with Fox, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Casey Jones.
Casey Jones. I thought he was actually pretty decent in that, and I think he showed depth in like on his character because they show him be a playboy, and the end of like the Arrow series, he's like a man, he has a kid, and he kind of has like a wife figure. So like, I don't understand why he's not getting more opportunities. Maybe I'm biased.
I guess he just got out of the Arrowverse now, so I guess he's finally free to be able to act in other things now. I guess.
Free at last.
Like, I think he was fine, but the CW is cheaper quality overall, I guess, and the longer and the more shows they added, the more cheap it felt, and the like less care and attentiveness went into it compared to the first couple that was like really tight and had a great idea for the premise. And I liked the flashback 5-year thing that was going on, because you're in the present and then you're in the past. You see him when he's got lesser skills, learning the skills. You see him in the present, still learning new things, like on top of what he already knows. Like,
so also the thing is too, like I one of my buddies or fellow actors, whatever. Well, he's on All American, right? He's the second
copyright strike. No, just kidding. we're all the beat.
Yeah.
You got.
Well, his name's Michael
of Black Angus.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan. Well, he's not Michael B. Jordan, but he's called Michael. His name's Michael. Anyways, he's mixed. He's the mixed son of the main character. Yeah. So, anyways, though, I found out that the CW actors are not paid super well. I know the actor strike is going on. I know the writer strike is going on, and they're allying together. But like Netflix actors, and I know like streaming service actors don't get paid well, and CW actors don't actually get paid well as well. So I don't know. Your thoughts are like, I don't know. Were you guys going to cover the strike or sorry?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I saw something last week about how like they offered a deal where it's like if you're an extra in a film, they have the rights in perpetuity of your image to reuse without paying you or your permission. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
I feel like there'd at least be a small bit you get back, a little bit.
Yeah, the thing is, oh god.
Oh, it's just like, well, what if you end up becoming a breakout star? But it's like, well, we own your image, so we can just. Oh, you want a bigger paycheck? Well, we'll just like CGI you and not pay you anything.
AI is very scary now.
Well, technically, isn't it like you're an extra, but you can only be used as an extra, technically? Like,
I don't know.
Because I feel like if it's like, well, we can somehow morph it to where you're doing more stuff, that'd be like, well, now that's a huge breach of like utilizing an image compared to you're an extra in this film and this film and this film, but we're going to change your clothes or something. Like,
well, now
they're trying to starve out the writers and artists to make them bend for crap deals in the union.
Well, so it's like that aspect does intrigue me a little bit of the strike, not in terms of because like when I just hear that they're striking, it's like, well, I don't know, it didn't seem like everybody was trying to make good films in the first place. I don't understand, but having the like having it with the AI discussion, having like the streaming deals compared to in theaters or how long it's in theaters or whatever, like those types of things, like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see the like, well, we can't just keep on making deals until we have an understanding on what's fair going forward. Because, yeah, like some of them are like Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson,
Black Widow's, Scarlett Johansson's still suing on that, right?
Yeah,
I thought she made like a $50 million deal.
Yeah, she's sued him, I think. Because they released it on streaming when they weren't supposed to, or something.
And also the fact that Hollywood was leaning more towards streaming and it's backfiring on all of them. It's just like now they're just like, oh my gosh, people are going back to theaters, but these films are like bombing, so you can't have one or the other.
Well, they're bombing because they have such high budgets, so it's like, how can they succeed?
Yeah, like when you have a $200 million budget, like Indiana Jones had a $300 million budget and $200 million marketing cost, so $500 million. On average, it's 40% that goes towards you got
times it by 3 to make your break-even point. It's like,
yeah, and so it's just like some people say 30, people say 50. It depends on your area, but I say the mean is 40%. So, you know, something like this needs to make like what, like $850 to $900 million.
You have to make like $1 billion to break even. It's like, what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like when it's Avatar, where it's like, yeah, you don't get this every day. This is a film event.
That's an event.
And then also, Angus, Avatar filmed back to back. So like they're like, you know, some of the costs actually was like in the second film.
It's split out between the films.
Yeah. So that's a different conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, no, we're going through what I call a entertainment dust bowl, where it's just we don't have creative people. You also have like agendas. So when I talk about agenda film, like this Barbie movie is an agenda film. It's propaganda. It's feminist propaganda. I don't think that should keep you from seeing it. I don't think like it's one thing to like, yeah, boycott Last Jedi or boycott the next Star Wars film in response to their propaganda. Like Barbie's like pleasant enough, even things that you roll your eyes at, where it's like, this is a mixed bag. It's, I don't know, it's an interesting endeavor, you know.
This image is everything, brother.
Some people called the Batman film propaganda, and it's like, no.
Yeah, because of one line that makes sense for that character to have that worldview. You know, so like I like to be very hesitant with this kind of rhetoric, where it's like it's case by case. Something like Little Mermaid, where it's just a corporate cash grab on an IP they own. It's soulless, and then also race swap, and then they use that for a shield when it fails. Stuff like that, yeah. Bomb it to hell. But
yeah, the thing is too, like Lion King was one of my favorite Disney films all the time, but when I watched the live action one, it was very soulless and lifeless. None of the characters had like any sort of like expression on their faces, and they added this like whole like additional storyline to the hyenas and Nala and everybody else. It's like, which was unneeded.
I always forget that movie exists, honestly.
But it's also not live action. It's like, it's just CGI. But they don't. But they
it's not live action at all.
But they love to call it live action though. Like
Jungle Book as well, I didn't like, but I did like Idris Elba as Shere Khan.
I feel like the Jungle Book is a better film compared to The Lion King. Like it's
Aladdin's
way
the best,
better.
I feel like.
I'm
But
never
it's
watching
still with
I don't watch
Robin Williams. You don't watch Terrace.
I haven't seen. I actually hold on. I actually don't know if I've seen any of the new live action Disney films. I'm trying to think if I have. I don't know.
But like the general movie going audience, man, like a lot of us, they don't really see it. But then after they see these films, like when I saw Barbie today, it was very lifeless. People weren't really cheering, and it was just like, and it was
People
like
seem pretty happy
it's
at
a
my
fuller theater too. And people like there was children there. They weren't really laughing or like, what the hell is this? You know?
Oh, you know, talking about theater experience with Oppenheimer. It's
no.
No.
Barbie.
I know.
Sorry.
But I'm saying like I saw Barbie and it was like an early show for the first day, so it's not a great litmus test. But I saw people coming in later in the day while I was going to Oppenheimer. Everyone seemed kind of happy to go, and it seemed like a pleasant vibe. Like it was like noticeable. It was very busy compared to normal for weekend openings or whatever. But Oppenheimer, like, you know, I was a few minutes late. It was only the top half of the theater, but it was packed, which I didn't expect. So when I bought my ticket, it was pretty empty today when I was buying it. And then, you know, again, it's a 3-hour movie, and it's besides like the bomb itself, the film, how they made the test bombing. It's not like a CGI film or anything. There's nothing. It's just like a drama with like a time hack for the character. You know, it's like we're trying to like meet these deadlines,
right?
It's like, but like for like the whole like last hour, there was like this elevated tension, and it's like all the like highs and lows, the musical cues or no music. Like I kind of looked around off and on because I'm very engaged with this like very intensive film about one guy. But like there's these moments where you can like kind of stop and like look around what everyone else is experiencing. Like everyone's just fucking quiet and attentive. It wasn't like I didn't see anyone like,
you know, Barbie. I saw a lot of people walking off, going to the bathroom because they're like, "Why is this movie so long?" It was like it should have been 90 minutes. Like, there's no reason for a Barbie movie to be 2 hours.
Yeah, I feel like comedies and horror films should usually be an hour and a half or something. Typically.
That used to be the mean, man. That used to be the average, but not anymore. Not anymore, unfortunately. Hollywood, listen. Never mind. Moving on.
It is kind of like so with Oppenheimer being 3 hours long. So Angus, you'd say it was just
feel like it.
You'd say it was justified to be 3 hours. Like if they had a
oh my god,
hour, if it was a 2.5 hour cut, would that be like significantly worse? You think?
I don't like. This film, honestly, it felt like it should probably have a little bit more time. Probably another 20 minutes.
It earned it as runtime, right?
Yeah, the earned like. When I compare this to The Dark Knight, like me and Ricky rewatched The Dark Knight, he hadn't seen it in years. I watch it all the time, but watching with him, I'm being like purposely critical, and not just enjoying because I know all the beats, but I'm like really analyzing on a different way. And I'm watching The Rookie, and I'm like, fuck, dude, there's like I don't know, I wouldn't trim anything from this movie. Like it's so precise, and like every scene is a progression in some way, whether it's the story or characters, or informing about plots to come. It like there's nothing to cut from The Dark Knight. It is like a perfectly edited film for the story it's telling. And it felt like that way with Oppenheimer. Honestly, it felt like I feel like we're flying by the seat of our pants, and part of it felt maybe it's doing it on purpose to try to put you in the head of Oppenheimer, like how like this brilliant guy is thinking in a metaphorical way, like the delivery system of the film, and putting you in his head when you're starting and you're seeing him like start to like really blossom scientifically as a student, leading into his professorship eventually. It just like Avatar 2, I think it should have been longer, honestly. And yeah, that last hour it was very tense because they're intertwining, like hitting a deadline to make these tests to do the bomb, to bomb Japan. And intertwining it with like his kangaroo court shit going on that's been trumped up by a rival that he used to work with, who's trying to elevate off of his back, essentially. And you just feel like this dread, this guy's gonna get shafted. Given Chris Nolan and what you can piece out for some of his films, he's very much in The Dark Knight Rises. There is, I think, a very obvious allusion to Occupy Wall Street, which would become Antifa eventually, a decade later. And also there is a big overarching philosophical idea of the noble lie from Plato that is in The Dark Knight Rises. It's like the follow through from Dark Knight, where it's like, I can be whatever you need me to be. I can be the bad guy if it serves the greater good. We can lie to the people to preserve Harvey Dent and what his image stands for justice and order. And this film, given a greater context of after the war, how they were always hesitant to even work with Oppenheimer because of his leftist leanings, and then after the fact with him being always trying to like limit nuclear advancements, it feels very much like a meta commentary on cancel culture. I think it's purposeful. If you ever see an essay about Oppenheimer and cancel culture, I don't think it's an accident. I don't think it's just a viewer interpreting that willy-nilly. So yeah, Oppenheimer it was very, I didn't know what to expect. That's why I wanted to see it first for Barbie, because Barbie would be like, whatever, it's a girly comedy. I don't have to put much thought into it, but I feel like in very different ways I was very much thinking during both films. Also, it's weird, Florence Pugh, the sister of Black Widow in the Black Widow movie, she's in this film as a lover of Oppenheimer, and they have a scene pretty much after like the first minute you meet her, they're fucking, and she has her tits out, and it's strange because it's like she's like riding them for a minute, but it's like I wasn't turned on at all. I love Florence Pugh, she's cute, but it's like Nolan somehow made this like explicit sex scene unsexy as fuck. It was a strange like aware, because you see like Game of Thrones or like House of the Dragon where they filmed a very non-pornographic style sex scene where it's like explicitly sexual, but it's not porno indulgent. It's like it felt like real intimacy in the scene of House of Dragon when she sleeps with Sir Kristen Cole. This one, it like didn't have the porno angle, and it didn't have like a more intimate angle. It was just like, yeah, he sleeps with this woman and her tits are out, but it's like not really appealing. It was strange, and I was like, fuck, a sex scene at all in a Nolan film? Like, oh, this is new territory. I didn't even realize it was a rated R film, and that's why, but it's strange because you get two scenes of her with her tits out, and it's not like, oh boy, it's just like, okay. It was strange. I don't know. It's a weird experience, that movie. It's very intense. And yeah, you're definitely wondering where it's like, all right, you're full bore making this bomb, and then now you even said, yeah, bomb here in Japan, and then afterwards, like at some point, you're like, oh no, I have blood on my hands, and seeing the development of like what that means for him, where it's easy to be like, oh, well, he made the bomb and then he felt bad about it after the fact. It's not that simple, actually. It's like starting this level of warfare potential.
You could technically destroy the planet at some point.
Right. Okay. That's a thing too. That's an overarching thing that like, rounds out. There's someone that because it's like in this film, you very much understand that, yeah, Oppenheimer is like the brilliant leader of this whole initiative. And it's ultimately like he's the coach. It's his work ultimately, win or lose. He gets the credit. But it was a huge collaborative effort of all these like random pieces. Like one of these key findings about like splitting the atom they like find out about it and he's like, there's no fucking way. That's not possible. The math doesn't add up. And he as soon as he hears it, he gets on his board and starts doing calculations. Like, yeah, you can't do it. It's not possible. And then they like show him, like, oh, we just replicated it in the lab next door. He's like, what the fuck? So it's kind of cool that they show like, no, this guy's brilliant, but like things that got to the point to make the bomb, he didn't even believe could happen. And someone did calculations where it's like, it's mathematically very, very low probability, but it's possible that by making this theoretical bomb, we could literally burn the world and destroy it. So it'll cause a nuclear chain reaction that destroys the atmosphere and thus kills everything. And so this was like always in the back of his head, like this could happen,
Yeah.
It's funny too because Strauss, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, they keep going back to the scene where when he first like invites him into, I guess, Princeton or wherever to take on like a leadership role. Albert Einstein's there, and he's trying to introduce him like, oh, we already know each other, and Einstein loses his hat, and so he gives him his hat. Robert Downey Jr.'s like, I don't know, 20 yards away seeing this, and he comes into it later, and Albert looks so like downtrodden, and it's right after he says something about like, oh, it's he's a man of science, or he's, I don't know, something noble, and he's like, well, it was his time, and so you think he said something to neg Albert that like sullied his mood. But then you finally get the roundabout at the end of the film where they show you what they said together. And it's like, yeah, you know how like we did the thing? And essentially like Albert Einstein got like an award or something for findings, but it was, I guess, actually like his underlings that helped get to that point, but he got the credit. And now it's like, there's some kind of conversation about like, well, that's going to happen to you, Oppenheimer. And Oppenheimer's like dreading it. And so Albert feels bad about this like realization. But from the perspective of Downey Jr.'s character, he's wondering like, whoa, are they talking about me? What the fuck? Like, right. So you get this like paranoia, and then you tie it with McCarthyism where, oh God, we beat the Nazis. Now we're paranoid about communists under every rock,? And so this is like always a factor for Oppenheimer. It took him forever to get his security clearance, even though he was working on the project by that point, because he was a commie sympathizer, as far as they were concerned. And it's like they weren't working with Russia making this bomb. They weren't like actually real allies. It was just like circumstance. They're fighting the Nazis. And so it's kind of interesting because it's like just on the outside, not knowing a lot of history, it's like, oh, it's weird. We're allies with the Russians, and then we instantly turn on each other and make the Cold War for 50 years in an arms race. And it's like, I thought we were friends. That's how you kind of understand it on the outside. And then you dig more, and it's like, oh, we were always paranoid about communism before the war, and then we teamed up, but we were always hesitant of our allies. It's strange. Apparently, Patton said, as soon as we ended the war with Germany, we should have gave the Germans their guns back and took on Russia.
Maybe.
It's like, wow, it's very eye-opening given you think, oh, we're all the good guys, and all the good guys are with each other, and we're all friends. It's like,
good guys really can't ever go against each other.
It's like, no, actually, we never liked Russia, and they never liked us, but we had a common enemy. Literally, it's cool when you read about like Athens and Sparta, because it's like it took us 2,500 years, but we repeated history with because they had a Cold War essentially, an off and on war. And it's just a lot of things add up where it's like this is the same story.
Yeah,
but no, it's crazy. Like, man, this feels like the most ambitious Nolan film.
Mother Russia.
Yeah, that's what I'll say about Oppenheimer. This
Mother
feels like
Russia.
So like Black Angus. So you recommend watching this? I'm seeing this tomorrow tomorrow night. So for the general movie going audience, like you recommend everyone seen it, right?
Yeah,
Or
it feels
this or
like there
right?
was a wide range of ages. Like there was some like young guys. I don't even know if they were 20 and they're watching, and like everyone was like attentive. Maybe this whole movie went over their head.
It was
know?
not Hail Hydra. It better not be that. Oh, sorry. Bad comedy. Or whatever. Too much MCU.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's very just a straight. It's a film, but it's like it's grand. I've never seen just a biopic be at this level. It's bigger. Maybe that was the angle that was like purposeful, but yeah, it feels bigger than just this guy. Not just because the story has all these other people that were instrumental for what is credited more or less just to him, but like yeah, I'm very blown away. I love like Ray. I love Walk the Line. I'm sure there's other biopics I've seen about a famous person in whatever field, but this really takes the cake. This raises the bar on this subgenre of films of like a biopic drama. Technically, it's a war film because World War II is a big, overarching conflict.
Has a voice call.
What? Oh, maybe he lost his internet.
So I'm gonna go see this tomorrow night. Do you want to do a podcast on Monday and talk about this and talk about the box office? Would love to have you on.
Yeah, no, I'm down. So you're just gonna email me? I guess
I'll email you.
I'm not on Discord, so like Twitter's my place.
Another thing about Barbie, let me reel back in. That had a bigger budget than Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
It's not incredibly huge like a Marvel film, but the budget is still relatively huge or bigger. But like we expressed the metaverse about it. It just like when I'm talking with you, I realize like the good points about it. I really do, but there are bad points about it. But that's why I call it a hot mess. This is why I call it a hot mess. And
I'd say, yeah, it's a pleasant for me. It's a very pleasant hot mess. Like, regardless of my political leanings and whatnot.
Yeah, same here. Like because like
there's so much fun
here, man. People like if you're like somewhat like conservative, they're just like, oh, you're far right. I'm like, bro, I'm actually towards the middle or kind of somewhere towards kind of the left. And we understand like certain things, and then we get put in this like little box, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, it's just like it's not fair. And then like a lot of these themes within this film, like that's why I gravitate towards Ken, right? Is because this was in Ken Lives Matter. Is because like inherently, like what you were saying, Hollywood didn't realize they were just like deconstructing themselves. They were. they were. And that's a very good point.
That's how to say it. Yeah, like it's that better contextualizes the feminist tone.
Yeah. And the fact is so we have reality and Barbie world, which is not reality. Then when we move into the reality world, is we know women don't want to work construction because they're physically not as strong as men. There's not an issue with that. We have gender roles, but like feminist women don't think that out. It's like, okay, take this job, work construction, and this and that. And Ken 100% showed what was wrong with feminism. Boom, baby. Boom. Like, we saw it in the film. They unintentionally did it. And it was beautiful.
Well, they do have a narrative counter, though, because, like, Ken undoes the world in a day, of Barbie Land. by bringing.
Well,
and so Barbie
counter.
says something about like
that's the counter I said.
Well, they address it. They address it saying like, oh, well, like these Barbies are susceptible to go along with this because they don't have like an awareness of what Ken's doing. They say something to that effect where it's like, well, once
they do.
Once you educate the women, the Barbies, then they won't fall to this new world Ken is bringing of
but
patriarchy.
The thing was, though, the philosophical question I think we need to address here, and that we skipped over, was if the Barbie women, like, obviously we saw society progressing even more under a man's eye, but the fact was that you took them away when society was like progressing or doing well. The real question is, would they do more well under the man's guise or the woman's guise? That's the philosophical question, the nuanced question. Boom, baby. It's just like, you know what I mean? It would, like, if you would never open up the woman's eyes, they were happy. They were happy. There was one woman at the start, so like, no, I don't want to go away from my husband. But you had to pull him away with the feminist agenda. There was only one person on the first pull away that was not happy. Or saying, hey, no, don't pull me away from my husband. I love him. Like, it was legitimately a line in there, like, that she actually liked her husband. But they didn't realize that. So there's a little bit of meta stuff in here. So that's why I reel it back on this film, man. There's, like, I don't think this film is super woke. I think there's a lot of like mature concepts that are really good. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I aside from my interpretation of their intention and then cell phone, it's like it's legitimately there's it's like as far as to make money and whatnot, that argument of like, well, don't do politics, Republicans buy shoes, like if Jordan famously said, when he wasn't involved, like a political thing.
I don't buy his shoes anymore, but I'm more of a Steve Madden guy. I buy fancier shoes, but anyways,
you get what I mean. Of like, there's the argument that if you just don't pander to any side, you'll have the most profit potential. I don't know what the Barbie movie exactly will look like in that world of just mass appeal and not having like a stance on worldviews explicitly, not even subtly, it's very explicit.
I think you do somewhat, though, like in our scope, right? It's impossible to view something that is not like conceived or percepted in a certain way, right, Angus? Because we live in a hyperbolic mode where, our thoughts are the way we feel are misconstrued, and maybe people will misinterpret, like, we're all friends here, blah, blah, blah. Right? So the thing is, with this film, this is like you discussed earlier, and I listened to the podcast earlier. I did. I was late. Sorry. That's what she said. But but the thing, I can make jokes. But the thing is, man, it was just like it was like one of those things, man. This was like intentional.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it wasn't intentional. I'm just saying like
it was clearly intentional. But though, like me and you, we have like similar mind scopes and where we view stuff, like, and also Rook. But it just like because there's like progressive themes, it doesn't ruin the film, right? And
Yeah.
I find like when we were watching the people earlier, right? We're just like breaking down their content. I think that is I'm not saying they're wrong. Congratulations for reaching that platform or breaking you down. But I don't think you're the truth, right? Do you see what I'm saying? And that's all what I'm trying to say. It's just like I respect everyone's thoughts, but I think the fact that is now we live in a society today is because these other big YouTubers are fighting for something. I actually support a lot of what they're fighting, supporting and doing, but I'm not 100%, and it's okay not to be 100% on that. That's my message. To be concrete and everything else. And I think that's really important. I think that's vastly important. It just like, you can hate something 100% and you can be a bigger channel, this and that, but I'm not going to I'm not going to show out for you. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm going to have my own opinion, and if if you accept me have my own opinion, that's all right. But if you don't like me because I have a disagreeing point with you, dude, that's messed up. You know what I mean? I think that's an issue with modern feminism, this whole shit going on with Barbie and everything else, Oppenheimer and all this stuff.
Yeah,
sorry
there's
for the
this
rant.
No, that's I'm very befuddled.
It's just like it's like
Not
I
with you,
recognize
with
the
this
hustle,
movie.
but you know what I mean, man. It's just I'll
they
support
make
you.
mountains. They make mountains out of molehills because they have received money for it, and so this is their formula to make money. So
Yeah, it's just like which
you
is
have to
truth.
question. You have to question their sentiment, even if they make a good point or something that clearly their track record, this is their worldview, but how they deliver it and over exaggerate, and essentially equate very different levels of infraction. That's what makes me hesitant with these people, and it doesn't help criticism. I take criticism seriously. Everything I'm saying is my legitimate takeaways.
Yeah, you and I respect each other, and we knew when we talk about things are legit conversations. But when I talk to other people that are inflated about these conversations or members, I'm just like, do you even have your own mind? Right? I'm just literally thinking about this. When I watched the Barbie movie, I was just like, okay, I can see some sort of feminist propaganda, but there's a underlying story behind all of this. It's not just woke. And there's a actually really good story. Why would Ryan Gosling and all these other characters put themselves behind that? But all these people don't want to look at it this way. They're just like, oh no, Tim, you're a seller. You're a shill. You gotta be a member of everyone else's chat to respect you. It's just so much fucking bullshit. Forgive my language. It is, I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm just very frustrated about this. It just the Barbie movie was not that bad. I mean, there's some really important elements in there, but there's some stuff I'm just like, what the fuck? So that's it.
Yeah, no, I'm very befuddled.
It's so stupid, man. It's just I know we're in our 30s right now, right?
Yeah,
and I'm just looking at this. I'm like, who is taking control of all this shit? Who is oh my god, dude? I don't know how you. How do you break down things? What is, I don't know, man. It's so hard to construct things, speak about things logically. I don't know, man. I'm done ranting. Oh my god, dude.
No, you're
It's
good,
to
man.
talk to you, man.
I've had 6 hours in the theater, and then I rush and set up the stream, and just go with it, go with the flow. It's a spoiler talk, experience. But no, I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad you could add to the conversation. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Rookie, but thank you all for joining. People popped in and out. And if you get to this point, yeah, I had a good time. Good time talking to Tim. Yeah, it should be free Monday night to do your stream. But I'm gonna close this out. I'm fucking tired from being at the movies for 6 hours and streaming for so long. Appreciate you, and appreciate you, Tim, and of course Rookie, my faithful co-host. I will see you all next week. Talk to you later.